Hello! Welcome, everybody. This is the Release 53 live stream, and I'm going to hand it off, maybe, to Lord British.
You are? All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody. Hope you can see me too. And welcome, as Star said, to the live stream for the release. First, as always, we would like to pass on a sincere thank you for joining us not only today, but for this entire journey of making this game. For those of you who don't know me by now, for newbies to the streams or to the game, obviously I'm Richard Garriott, also known as Lord British, the creative director of the game. And what we've been making here, and hopefully you are already in and playing, and if not, come join us and play. Shroud of the Avatar is sort of the spiritual successor to the games that we started making almost 40 years ago. The Ultima series. I wrote 9 solo player games that I think still are quite unique amongst role playing games in the kind of deep immersion and breadth of the simulation of those worlds. Of course, it's also the spiritual successor to Ultima Online, which was arguably the first massively multiplayer game in the industry. That's where the term MMO was coined, was out of the game Ultima Online. That's also where Star and I began to work together. What was unique about Ultimas in general, and the games that we've continued to make since then, I would argue too, is that in addition to being role-playing games broadly, we've tried to make them where the decisions you make throughout the game really have impact on not just yourself, but on the world state, to where we've tried to imbue the games with deep stories, generally about virtues, often by putting games context in wrapping contemporary social issues into those storylines. And so I think we've done quite a good job with that. And in the case of Shroud of the Avatar, we had a great opportunity to work with Tracy Hickman of the Dragon series of books. He co-wrote not only the main story, but the backstory for Shroud of the Avatar. And if you've already played, you've already begun to see, and some of you even finished. I was just tweeting to someone who actually finished the game today on this May the 4th, that this deep storyline about truth and love and courage that Tracy really helped, I think, do a masterful job on, and the team in Austin has executed, I think, particularly well and expanded on very well. And for those of you who don't know, also, it's a bit of a unique type of game. It both plays as a solo player game. You can actually play it fully offline. The game does not need to be connected to the internet in order to operate. But also, if you play online, you can either play solo player, or you can play with only your party of friends, or you can play in what is similar or most similar to an MMO type game with it open to have everybody else playing. So we think we've put a pretty unique offering out. We've only been, final, so to speak. Episode 1 has only been fully released here for a few weeks, or really one release cycle now, one full release cycle now. We're still going to keep doing these monthly release cycles and hopefully continue to give you all expanded and deepened content and great ways to have fun. So let me pass it over to Star Long, and he'll tell you a little bit more about what we have in store for today's live stream.
Thanks, Richard. I'm Star Long, also known as Dark Star. I'm the executive producer on the project, and as Richard mentioned, he and I have been working together a long time. We worked on Ultima Online together, one of the very first MMOs, and my job as the executive producer is to run the project. So, and the main part of that is making sure that we get a release to you guys every month. And super proud of this team that we've managed to do that for 53 months in a row. And we managed to get you guys a release on the last Thursday of the month every time on time. It's an amazing team, and every one of those releases is chock full of content. Tons of bug fixes, tons of new maps, new creatures, new skills, combat balance, weapon balance. And after every release, we do one of these monthly live streams where we talk about the release, we answer questions, we do deep dives, and we hand out prizes. And in order for you to win a prize, all you have to do is either be on Discord or Twitch. So let's give out some prizes. So the first round of prizes, we are giving out 9 crowns to Craven. we're giving out a Heraldry Cloak Eternal Pattern set to Lex 1. That's LEXX. An Elven statue of your choice. You get to pick any one of the new 6 Elven statues that we made for this release. Goes to Morgoth Redbeard. And Landscape Tapestries Mega Set goes to Divim. And a Replenishing Sparklers Mega Set, that's a seasonal recurring rare, goes to Slap Chop. So congratulations, all the winners, and we'll be giving out prizes at the top of the hour during the whole stream today. We're also going to have sales, and actually the sales started at noon today and will run till midnight. We used to spin the wheel to do prizes, those of you who've seen our streams before, but we had a discussion before this live stream, and we decided that doing the spins on the wheels and getting those going had 2 things. One, it confined the sales to just during the live stream, which meant that those who are in different time zones, say like in Europe, had to be up pretty late to catch the live stream. It also confined the sales to just during the time frame of the live stream. It meant that if there was a certain thing you wanted to get, like say you wanted a lot deed or you wanted a certain kind of decoration, you had to make sure that you were watching and get it during that specific time that the sale happened. So we decided to ditch the whole wheel, even though the wheel was fun. And we decided that we're just going to have the sales happen during a 12-hour long window, starting at noon, going all the way to midnight. We also changed how we're going to do stretch goals. What are stretch goals? Every time he gets the line perfectly, every time. It's amazing. And so stretch goals, what those are is that anyone who spends at least $5 today in the add-on store, they will get all the stretch goals that we achieved today. And stretch goals are new pieces of art that we make specifically just for people who spend money today. It has to be new money, can't be credits. And we originally had planned to do stretch goals today that were spring themed because April showers bring May flowers. And I even wore what is on first glance you might think is a flower shirt, but actually these are all skulls. We did kind of a bait and switch on you guys because it's May the 4th, and we decided to do a Sky Navy theme. You can see our little airship in the background. And so all our stretch goals today are kind of on a May the 4th Sky Navy theme. So if we get $10,000 today, oh my God, we've already way past that. We've already hit our first stretch goal. So everyone who spends at least $5 today will get the Float Meditate. So you will cross your legs and float up in the air and meditate. If we get up to $25,000 today, everyone will get a blue electric sword. If we get up to $35,000 today, we will get a new automaton pet, cylindrical in shape. So instead of a humanoid shape, it will be more cylindrical in shape. I don't know where we got that idea. If we get $50,000, we will get an electric halberd and an electric staff. And if we get $65,000, we will get an Adobe Dome Deco set. So this would be a set of little domed Adobe, a large and a small one that you could put up in your lot. And they come with a bonus.
Dog houses or
yeah, like little dog houses, sure, like little igloo-likey things. And they come with a bonus set of pair of burn skeletons and little blue cylinder decos. Again, I'm not sure where we got those ideas. And then $80,000, a white aeronaut helmet, and I dropped it. Jack wanted me to show that. These are Shooter. Shooter has these cool guitar picks, Gunslinger. I don't know where that symbol comes from. Doesn't look like anything to me. And a black aeronaut helmet. So these are full face helms, kind of like based loosely on our Clockwork armor, but they cover your face entirely. Then if we make it up to $90,000, we're going to do double XP for the first 2 weeks of release 54, including crafting this time. So not just adventuring, and an all metal. Oh no, the blue. No, and red electric sword. Oh, I forgot. At 80K, in addition to the helms, there's also an all metal crossbow. And then if we get up to 100K, we'll get the white aeronaut armor to go with the helm. And if we get up to 110K, get the black aeronaut armor, go with the black helm and a cloak.
I didn't notice. Did you mention the crafting double XP?
Yes, I did.
Okay, just throwing that out
I
there.
did.
So we,
By the way,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you were going to show any of those things, but our artists have already been prototyping some of this stuff. It looks so cool.
Yeah, we're going to show off. We're going to show off some of that stuff while we're going. So in addition to the prizes and the stretch goals, we're going to have tons of stuff that we're going to talk about today. So after the intro, we're going to answer some of the questions you guys have submitted. We're going to have a deep dive about combat and crafting. We're going to that's at 3:45, so in about 30 minutes. And then we're going to have a world building tour at 4:30, where we're going to go through some of the new scenes we introduced, like Tenebrous Harbor and Pinmar Island. We're gonna then at 5:30, we're gonna show off where we are on the physical goods, which Lord British has been hard at work signing. And at 6:15, we'll do some more Q&A. So, and once again, I want to thank our community members who've come in and help us like they do every time. And a reminder that while we're not doing expirations today, on Monday, we're expiring all store credits. Those will be converted to crowns, and there's a post on the forums that you can read up all about that expiration. So, and before I talk anymore, I would like to hand it off to Mr. Spears.
howdy, I'm Chris Spears. For those who don't know me, I go by Atos in the game. I'm the tech director for the project. But like everyone at the studio, I wear lots of hats. So I also do most of the combat designing and design in random other areas as well. So pretty much anything you're angry about, probably 80% of what you're angry about, you can always blame me for it just at any given time. And I'm kind of used to it. So this release, there's things to be angry about and things to be happy about. The big one, again, every release performance gets better. This release, it is actually up significantly. We do have one or two places that got a little worse. I'm hearing that some really heavy combat stuff got a little worse. But in general, everything is way up. The average is up, and everything's looking good. Now, that performance optimization, there's an old, I think it was John Carmack saying that premature optimization is the root of all evil. I guess we're not premature, but we're getting to it now, and it's also still the root of all evil. So because of that, there were a few things that broke earlier this release with the AEs. But just so you know, we broke that on purpose because we know you guys wanted us to extend the double experience point stuff, which we did since the AE stuff was broken. But anyways, lots and lots of improvements this release. And as I mentioned, I'm the guy you should hate for everything. Another thing that went in this release were some bug fixes, some good and some making people not too happy, including some changes to damage absorption and how that worked and the math behind that. We'll probably talk a little bit about that later in the combat stuff, so I'll save more talk about that for later. But anyways.
Yeah. So, yeah, Release 53 was a gigantic build, but also a little rough. So we got tons of performance work in, and one of the big performance improvements was we identified, this big performance issue that was happening with area of effect spells and skills. Unfortunately, that also broke. It fixed the performance side of those things, but it also broke them working for the first few days of the release. So performance on those got better, but then it actually made them completely ineffective. But so performance got better. We rebuilt 3 scenes. We expanded heraldry to a whole new set of items, including a new cloak and a new shield, and heraldry opening up to everybody. We added looking for group, which was a huge improvement to being able to play the game with other people. Offline, we made offline have its own set of drop rates for stuff, and so if you played the offline mode, since we added that functionality, the drop rates are insane there. just amazing how much more stuff you get there. We added more side quests. We have animal skin rugs now. So it used to be that all you could make out of, in addition to just the raw materials for crafting and stuff like that, you could also make trophy heads and things like that. Well, now you can also make animal skin rugs. We actually are going to have some polish on those in release 54. We're adjusting the scale on some of those, so the animals that are bigger, their rugs are also going to be bigger, and we're going to fix the fact that like the wolf head is kind of floating above. So that's all going to get. So we're doing some more polish on those for 54. We introduced worn armor into the game. We made a huge change to the way crafting works. So crafting failure no longer destroys items; it just reduces durability. So I know crafters were pretty happy about that. Speaking of crafting, player crafted items are now in the loot tables if you sell them to an NPC merchant.
Huzzah!
So that's pretty cool. That's something we've been talking about forever, and finally is in the game. We also added lot deeds and houses to the loot tables. So that's pretty cool. So we know that people have been finding those in supply bundles. And of course, we've done a lot more work on the physical goods. So you'll be able to see those later in the live stream, and they look amazing. It's really cool. Scotty has just done such an insanely good job. And that was just released. That's just a tiny fragment of the stuff. I mean, the release notes for release 53 were 30 pages long. I mean, it was just an insane amount of content. This team is just amazing. And then release 44 and 55 are just going to be full of so much more good stuff. Like we're going to do a bunch of polish on the companions. We had a great meeting the other day about all the cool stuff we're going to do to make those guys a lot more effective. So they're going to have a ton of abilities now. They're going to have a lot better group dynamics. So they're going to be more aware of each other. They're going to be doing heals and buffs and things like that. There's going to be polish on the journal. There's going to be the castle defense scenarios. There's going to be 6 more scene rebuilds. There's going to be brewing. Skeleton pirates. Ooh, I got to see those today. They're so cool. So they're undead. They're variations of our undead skeletons that have pirate gear on. Unicorns. I got to see we got unicorn. We're gonna have unicorns in there somewhere.
Very rare. And don't you go kill them, you players. You.
Yeah, they're really 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 cool. There's more virtue effects, more side quests. So right now we've got virtue effects on the virtue armor, but we're going to be adding them to Kabbalist, more of the Kabbalist weapons and the companion gear. Big change that's coming in next release is commission vendors. We're moving the charge that you pay for those guys to the point of sale, not when you list an item. So that's going to be a huge quality of life improvement on those. And also, we're getting back to something we used to have a long time ago, where you're going to be able to put containers inside containers. So I know that people have been wanting that for a while. So release 54 and 55 are going to be really, really cool. And brewing is going to be really fun.
I'm excited about the UI stuff.
Oh, that's another thing I forgot. Yeah,
that's what I was mentioning.
Oh yeah, UI polish. So we had a great UI polish meeting. So we're going to be doing a lot of cleanup work on the UI. So we're going to be yanking a bunch of the extraneous brackets and doodads on the UI. We're going to move to a much more neutral color scheme on there. So not that sort of bright gold. It's going to be much more of a neutral color to it. It's going to be a lot more compact because we're going to be yanking all those extraneous brackets and things like that we don't really need. We're going to be able to compact a lot of the UI elements so they take up a lot less screen real estate. It's going to be a much more polished looking UI, and that's going to be happening in 54 and 55 too. So a lot of cool polish work.
And while you were talking, we made it 22.5, which means we're only 2,500 away from a blue electric sword.
Yeah, totally not a lightsaber. Totally.
No.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, we are getting really close.
Yeah. And so reminder, so we've already gotten the first stretch goal, which is the float and meditate. Totally not similar to what a hero type might have done in a recent movie. Only 2,500 away from our next stretch goal at 25,000, which is the electric sword. At $35,000, we get a new automaton pet that is cylindrical in shape. At 50,000, we'll get the electric halberd.
Gust ball variant.
What?
Kind of like a gust ball.
Oh yeah, you might be able. You could probably maybe use them at Gus Ball, but
Oh,
the
good
Gus
one.
Ball would be better though. But and then there's a bunch more after that. And reminder that we got some expirations that the credits are expiring on Monday, so might be a good time to flush those out while we've got all these sales going because everything is on sale right now. Reminder, we're not doing the wheel spins. So literally everything except for crowns and game services are on sale right now. So it's a great time to get some stuff that you had your eye on the store. And now I'd like to hand it off to Richard to talk about a couple things. One, how we're expanding our support worldwide. You might have seen a message from me that went out this morning that we are going to be putting our transition to Trabian on hold for now. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, we just hit our next stretch goal. So congratulations, everyone.
Woo! Everybody, congratulations. Mark Cowbell.
Huzzah! So everybody gets a float meditate and everybody gets an electric sword.
And by everybody, you mean everybody who participates in today's telethon by contributing at least $5 of new money towards anything they would like for it to have it go towards.
And if you want to see a prototype for what the blue electric sword looks like, feel free to go to the Facebook page. I actually posted a video there of Richard demonstrating one.
Yes, exactly. Check it out.
Right, that's exactly what it won't look like. All right, Mr. British.
Let me unmute. That'll be better if I unmute. So you can probably hear me a lot better when I am not muted. Yeah, well, on the transition, we tried to put a lot of things together for right at the release. We had a lot of moving parts, not just the game, but marketing efforts and website designs and constructions and so first of all, there was a lot of misunderstanding about exactly what was happening. Plus, we actually had some errors and snafus along that way logistically. And so, as Star mentioned, we're actually putting a pause on some of those transitions just to where we can get our act together a little better before we do it. But it seemed like a good time to just re-mention to everybody kind of what our long-term goal is on that front. Because some people, when they saw that we were transitioning websites, and saw some other moving pieces, they assumed that we were kind of splitting up the world into maybe even as much as multiple server sets or something, like the sharding of the past. Like we did in Ultima Online and most other MMOs do. And the answer to that is no, no, no. We are going to stick with one world, unified, and have a normalized pricing model around the globe. And so what we currently plan is for everyone who plays the game to be playing in a single non-sharded world, just like you currently are now. And we also plan to keep a normalized pricing normalized pricing for the game. And what that means, what we mean by normalized, is it means it's not exactly the same in every territory. Just like if you go on Steam, you'll find that different territories for almost every game have a different price that is adjusted for the main game, just to have it as a download. And we just follow along with Steam as they adjust for currency and local market conditions. We will be in that same thing. But then for things that you buy in the game, the goods, the digital goods that you have within the game, those will all be unified to where they are basically the identical price. And that's to prevent any arbitrage from you able to from anybody being able to say, hey, I can go buy it in South America at 50 cents less and sell it to players in America for 50 cents more, and therefore earn real cash by currency arbitrage. And so while the prices, the currencies fluctuate up and down every day, and so I can't remember what exactly the frequency is. We'll be putting those, lining those back up. But the intent is we'll make sure that we keep them effectively identical to prevent arbitrage. Another area that's important to talk about is taxes. Now that we have transitioned from early access to release, we must charge taxes and charge and therefore also pay. We have to pay taxes now too on any money. These are now sales versus contributions. So those sales are taxes have to be paid. And all over the globe, those taxes now are charged a little bit differently. And also the way they have to show up to you as players is even. Oh, okay, we back.
USB drive.
You gotta rewind about.
Okay, okay, but am I back live again?
Pretty sure we're live again.
All right. Well, hey, I heard there was a bit of a skip in the stream there, everybody. So I will back up.
Yay! Shop smart.
Start
Shop
back with
smart.
taxes.
You back.
All right. I'll start back with taxes for those of you who didn't understand. Now that we've transitioned from early access to an actual live product, it means we are making sales, direct sales, instead of taking contributions, which we were doing during early access. And so therefore, we have to immediately turn around and pay taxes. And paying taxes is a highly differentiated, across regions of the world. And not only are the tax rates different all over the world, but how those taxes have to be shown to you during the purchase are actually unique per area of the world. For example, in Europe, we have to show you the tax per item as you look at as you are evaluating the item you might want to purchase for value-added tax. On the other hand, in the United States, it is more traditional to where you put all the things you want to in your basket, and at the checkout stand, they roll all that up and then tell you what the tax rate will be to that pile that you put together as at kind of the end of the sales process. So we're having to build the websites to manage all those different methods, and it's going to take us some time to get that all sorted out. But just so you'll know, we have to comply with those worldwide regulations, and so obviously we'll be doing that. We also, you'll notice that we're trying to make sure that when people come to Shroud of the Avatar on the web, the first website they will normally see is the one that is localized into their own language and has support staff monitoring it again in that language. And so we are trying to do that for improved customer service for everyone. And so we're going to try to keep those as unified as possible. We're ultimately going to roll all these websites together to where they're managed as one piece as much as we can. But by the way, that's one of the things sort of been put on hold. We were hoping to have transitioned to a unified worldwide website a month ago, and it looks like it might be forward a month or two before we try that again. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. Another thing that we're having to do nowadays is deal with data privacy issues. Here in the United States, where we are pretty lackadaisical. The legal system, I would argue, is fairly lackadaisical on data privacy, and people generally opt into sharing their data with everybody and their dog, and that's on the good side, it's why you might find products or services well tailored to you after you're surfing. On the downside, it means the evil corporations get more and more detailed understanding of your personal habits. And in the EU, they now have put in much more strict customer account privacy standards. And we actually like those standards. We actually think that's a good way to evolve regardless. We think that's good for humanity, but it's also the law. And so we will be, and we're already in the process of migrating towards the standardized EU data privacy laws. And that will mean that things will change for you. Like, for example, you'll have to periodically opt in to let us keep your data in order to help you, in the game. And if you don't reply to those emails, by law, we'll have to sweep your information off of our server. So there's going to be some interesting ramifications of that, but that is the EU law. And of course, we have to comply. And of course, we also recognize there's a bunch of unsolved issues. There's, as we look around the geopolitical world, there's specific areas of conflict, like, for example, in the Baltic regions. Those are territories which both have language complexity, as what language is best to support them, as well as EU versus Russian support issues that come up, and we know that those things are unsolved. We've heard people voicing their concerns about that. We hear you, and we are on those, and we're going to try to find the best customer service oriented solution for those. But obviously, we have a lot of things to be working through here, as you can tell. So hopefully, have some patience with that as we find the best way to support the players. Because obviously, from our standpoint, the number one goal is make sure the players get the very best service they possibly can, and the most personal and appropriate service that we can give them. All right, so that's sort of where we stand on the transition to this kind of worldwide service. And I'd like to see if we have our Royal Warrant recipient nearby, or at least on voice. I hear he's going to join us. Is that true? Is
I am
Arius?
here. I'm absolutely here, sir.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Very glad you could be with us. Thank you so much for joining. First, let me explain to people what it is we're going to do. For those of you who don't know, one of the things that we really enjoy doing is celebrating members of our community who have just done an amazing job in supporting their fellows within the community itself. And we do this with two types of awards that we give out within our community. One we call the Order of the New Britannian Empire. It's sort of modeled loosely on the European or British in particular, the Order of the British Empire, which basically is a knighthood. And so since we are New Britannia, it's the Order of the New Britannian Empire. And that is given to individuals who show and display a long-term impact, positive impact within the community itself. And occasionally we also have groups that sort of do as a team, and we give out something, again, patterned after British monarchy history. We give out royal warrants. And if you might remember, even to this day, actually, in the UK, royal warrants are given out to shops or businesses or groups who, again, display doing the very best in products or the best in service to the country. And so we today would like to give out an Order of the New Britannian Empire, and we're going to give that to Lee Ledbetter, better known as Arius, of the Elven family Coilmore. And why we're giving this to you, Arius, you may already know, but for those of you who don't know Arius, he has been a live streamer of the game for a long time, and he's helped promote the game as well over a long period of time on Twitch. He has done incredible dedicated work for the Airy Fund and their streamathons that have raised a ton of money for charities and or specifically in support of community members in need. He has an alter ego, Wayne Klotz, who is the NBNN Action News reporter covering in-game events, which are always fun. And he's also, continually in the game, role-playing, and kind of contributing into the community, and in particular in the Elvish side of our community, but really the community broadly. And specifically also, he happens to be a master wand maker in Novia, which is a particularly rare trait. And for all of those areas, we would like to say thank you. We applaud you and your contributions to the game and the community greatly. And for that, we would like to award you, and we'll give you the physical symbol of the Order of the New Britannian Empire as soon as we can.
Thank you. Well, I just got knighted, right?
Yeah.
Yay, I can buy heraldry for an in-game reason now. Yay!
Exactly.
No, seriously, thank you. Thank you so much. I keep talking about how this game, Shroud of the Avatar, has changed my life, and I mean that from a day-to-day and literally from a life perspective because of your game that you've created. I've said this before 1,000 times, but it has led me to the Airy Fund. It has led me to this community. It has led me to the most incredible people I've ever met. And to everyone out there, and to you, and to thanks to Lazarus Long, NBNN, Jack Cynicist, thank you to Thextor Markham of the Airy Fund, thank you to Justin, to everybody, and to you, Richard, for making this game. Thank you all.
Well, you are very welcome. And of course, the thanks you send to me, I would like to send on to the 30+ members who work with me to pull this all off.
Absolutely. And except Gix. Don't let Gix have any of it.
Right.
No, I mean, just...
But as you know, as we say at the beginning of every stream and at the end of every stream also, is that, we all feel like we work for you. I mean, in a very literal sense. And so in any case, I think it's a shared passion we all have. And it's an honor to have you as a member of our team.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Okay, well, I will then pass over to Matthew. I believe Matthew is going to be joining us back in the Austin office, who's going to tell us a little bit about how some going-ons within the community.
All right, thank you, Richard. Yes, indeed. So much happening with the community, so many events occurring right now. It is fantastic, and I have some special announcements here for you guys. First, as you guys always know, I love giving away prizes, so we have from the last week's Oracle Enigma winners from Facebook, 9 Kotos each. Congrats to Jess Carpenter, Anna Sanchez, and Gabrielle Staley. Congrats to you for winning that. And we have more prizes and contests coming up. In fact, we're giving away a little bit of prizes for the, if you can do it, defeat some of the dragons that are coming to attack New Britannia. It's kind of been a rumor that these dragons are on the prowl, crossing the mountainsides and ready to pounce. And we've warned you, the community, to stand by for those dragons. And we hear that one is just about approaching and probably will arrive at Desolace shortly after this live stream. I guess about 7:30, half hour after.
Can you say that word? What's invading again?
What did I say?
Say it.
I don't know. What did I say? Dragons. Do I have an accent?
It just sounds like you're saying dragons.
That's dragons. Yeah. What should I be saying?
Oh, no, that's it exactly.
It's perfect.
That's perfect.
It's perfect.
Okay. All right. Moving forward. Anyway, we've got to get you guys ready. You got to be ready. Get in the game after this live stream at 7:30. Join us in Desolace for some fun there. And there's also details on the website for prizes that we'll be giving out for joining us in the game, and more coming next week. In fact, not only is this a week-long Dragon Weeks, we're calling it the Dragon Weeks campaign. It started this week, actually. It's continuing into next week. And we're going to have not just fun in-game activities for you guys, but also we've got some new videos that are going to be coming out. So watch the social channels, Shroud of Avatar on Twitter, go to Facebook, our front page of our website, and of course YouTube. And watch for that, where we'll have some new videos, including this live stream. After the live stream concludes, we'll get it up on YouTube. All right, so what else do we have? We also have Pax Lair Campfire Stories event occurring after the rumored dragon attack at 7:30 tonight Central Time afterwards, and a bunch of other community events. Check the calendar on shroudoftheavatar.com in the community tab. You can go there, see all the community events, and in the forums as well, as events are posted by community members. Also, a thanks to the Caverns team, who have been they made this several beautiful audio versions of the participants of the poetry contest. So we had a poetry contest a couple weeks ago, and there was some written poetry that was transcribed into audio format. And the Caverns team at thecaverns.net, you can go there and check out and listen to the audio recordings from those poetry submissions. So that was really fun. We gave some prizes away for them as well. And if you want to see all of them in written format, you can go to the forum event thread, Poets of New Britannia, on our main forums. SodaCon, coming up in October 11th through 13th. It's going to be a big event run by the community. Registration is open.
I'm going to be there. Are you going to be there,
Richard? I'm going to be there. Star is going to be there. We're going to have a lot of fun with the community. SodaCon, it's put on by the community, and we've got a bunch of plans with that team for making it a really cool event. So check it out, sodacon.org. Again, registration is open, and all the details are there on what's going to be happening. That's coming up October 11th through 13th. Other than that, stick around, everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend with more community events. And again, rumored dragon attacks next week. Did I say it right, dragons?
Perfect.
All right.
They're discussing whether we can have
you
a
guys-
Dr. Dragon.
I know
See, Dr. Dre gun. See?
Oh,
And then they're also discussing whether it's spelled DRAGUNES or
Well, I'm from Wisconsin. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that to anybody
D-R-A-Y.
before, but there you go. Okay. Well, I'm going to return the seat to Star. You guys have a lot of fun, and enjoy the rest of the day in the live stream.
All right.
All right. Well, pardon the vacuuming noise here behind me, but I think well, first of all, have you guys announced, did you announce the passing of that last milestone?
We haven't passed the next one. We announced the blue sword. But we
Okay,
haven't
that was the
gotten
one I was referring to.
We need to hurry up and show them too, or else we're going to be showing
well,
them after they
yeah,
already
hold
got
on.
them.
So-
It's supposed to be getting them excited.
We're only 2,500 away from the next one. So we should show them some pics to get them excited. So we did some quick mock-ups. So we took our Clockwork armor and we did some quick mock-ups of what it might look like as the white aeronaut armor. So bears no resemblance to some other armors of some other types at all. No resemblance at all. And then here's some quick work that we're doing on our little cylindrical automaton pet. Also bears no resemblance to something you might see otherwise. So I can't wait to get a cease and desist letter. Luckily, Disney is not litigious in any way, so we're probably totally safe. Nothing's going to happen. All right. So we are only 2,500 away from getting that cute little cylindrical automaton. I cannot wait. He's going to be so awesome. And we already got the blue electric sword and the float meditate. So it's very, very exciting. So let's answer a few questions, I think, before we do the combat deep dive, right? So Zephos asks, are there plans to make ship bundles? So not just buying the ship, but stuff with it. For example, a ghost ship with ghost pets or furniture of a similar brand. Yes, actually. Like the next bundle type or bundle line that we're talking about is like a pirate theme, which would basically mostly be ship based. And one of the things we were talking about doing for that bundle line was giving you the choice. Once you got up to the property level, giving you a choice of whether you wanted to get a water lot or a land lot and a water house or a land house once you get up to the land lots. So yes, that's going to probably be our next bundle line. Let's see. Inamus asks, can we please be able to search the add-on store and bundle store with keywords? Yes, we definitely want to get a search function there. D asks, can we get POT add-on section in the store to buy NPCs and NPC buildings and other pot related concepts? Yeah, we could consider that. The Pumpkin Queen asks, if we reach 80K stretch goal, can we get the Baby Reaper pets as the bonus reward, Baby Reapers or bust? So that's someone who has been reading our stand-up notes. So those of you who don't know, we post our stand-up notes in the forums every single day. So if you want to follow along and see what our team is working on, some of you might have noticed that we've got some Reaper saplings, which are little pets, and that's actually going to be a promotion that's coming up with the Airy Fund. So stay tuned for a surprise announcement. You heard it here first, I guess. That's going to be a promotion coming up with them related to a nature-themed promotion we're doing with them, and that's going to be one of the things you can earn by participating with them as little Reaper sapling pets. And it again has nothing to do.
I am Reaper.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with a similar property also owned
Homage.
by Disney.
Homage.
Yeah, so.
And also, I just want to throw a plug out there, since Star was mentioning the daily stand-up reports. We actually do write down basically what we have, and we don't keep hardly any secrets at all, as people who visited the studios and been with us in stand-up know. But also, if you're too lazy to read those yourself, you might check out the Jack and Laz show.
Oh, yeah.
They frequently will go over those and talk and speculate and just make up crap to make the show interesting. So if you want the all the information and more, give those guys a watch.
Yeah, they interpret them. Yes.
We interpret the news so you don't have to.
That's
right.
Exactly
yeah.
Right.
Exactly. They do your thinking for you, so you don't have to think. Yobtar asks, what release do we see bundles being able to be purchased with crowns? That is a great question. So those of you who don't know, we are planning to make it so that you can buy the contents of a bundle for crowns. Now, you're not going to be able to do upgrades between things in the game, but you would be able to buy the contents of a bundle from a crown merchant in the game. That we hope to get that by the end of Q2. So if not release 54, definitely by 55. Let's see. Oakenhammer.
Into combat.
Yeah. So Oakenhammer asks, hold on, I'm doing strike through so I can keep track. What are the thoughts about having random gathering focused encounters on the world map? Well, I'm not sure, maybe this makes me think that people are not aware that one of the things you can do with the random encounters is once you clear out enemies, there actually are resource nodes in those encounters, and there's a lot of people who specifically look for the roving encounters so they can go and get resource nodes out of them. So,
and the resource nodes tend to be a notch higher than what it should be based on the creatures that are in there.
Yeah. So I doubt we would make any that are beyond that. So, all right. I see you highlighted some too.
Oh, so yeah, I highlighted. I'll answer all these. The Earthquake was cast for 2 seconds. It's one of the longest attacking skills, but its damage is not as good as other magic. Can it make it more practical? And again, this is one of those, it's hard to measure. If you're just measuring exact, damage, then it's one thing, but there's other features that come along with Earthquake. My favorite part is it shakes the screen now. So that right there is worth a little extra casting time. But seriously, the Earth Magic right now is probably one of the weaker ones. And as everybody knows, I am not shy about going and fixing things that need to be fixed. That is one of the ones that I have seen the use of it dropping off, which is one of those things I look for, is what skills get used the most, what gets used least. And right now it is not great on the bang for the buck, even if you have a really high strength. But anyways, yes, I will take a look at that. And that is a really long cast time.
So perfect timing that we just started looking at these combat things, because it's now time for our combat deep dive. Wow. So, Richard, yes. If you'd like to give us a brief intro, and I will go get B and Travis while you do that.
Excellent, fantastic. Well, here as we're getting ready to kick off the combat deep dive, I like to kind of just give a little preamble about sort of the goals we've had as a project for combat in particular. If you look at the things we've done well or not as well throughout the history of Ultima, combat is one of the things that was always done quite differently each game. Interestingly, if you go back to the earliest games that I did, the Ultima series, they started out turn-based and they eventually evolved into being real time, and it used to be very keyboard focused, and eventually mice came into existence, and so it's been something that's evolved and changed probably the most in the design of the games. And I would also say that it historically wasn't one of the strongest aspects of the game, and so we really wanted to focus a lot of effort on combat here for Shroud of the Avatar to really not only bring it up to world class, but try to again kind of push the envelope and come up with some new methods to go beyond some of the problems that we perceived in the combat of a lot of role-playing games, not only our own, but kind of industry-wide. And in particular, we think that a lot of role-playing games have sort of become spreadsheet management games where, you load up a shortcut bar with a known set of actions to deal the most damage over time, and you set up your armor and gear to be able to absorb the most damage over time, and you learn those patterns, and then you just execute the same pattern over and over and over again without regard to opponents. And so we try to break that up, one by having opponents that have unique abilities that make you need to change tactic based upon the foe you're facing, but also by creating a combat system that while you could still play with a static shortcut bar, we built a system that allowed you to kind of bring with you to the combat effectively a deck or some glyphs of moves that you wanted to kind of rehearse to bring with you and combine them in interesting ways in real time as they showed up for you to make use of, and combine them to make even more powerful effects. And so that means you're pretty much guaranteed to have unique combat interactions and not kind of the spreadsheet management if you can get it to this more advanced type of combat, which a lot of people have learned well and execute extremely so in an extremely sophisticated way. But at least to detail the precise changes and issues with combat, It looks like I'm passing over there to Travis and B and Chris. They'll be taking you into the game to show off kind of the current state of the art in combat for Shroud of the Avatar. Over to you guys.
Hold on.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to transition.
Travis
All right,
is
thanks,
driving.
Richard. Did you hit transition?
No, he didn't.
Okay, hit transition.
There you go.
All right, there we go.
Oh,
Star
sweet.
All right, here we are, combat and crafting. So the way we're gonna, so what we decided to do for this deep dive is a little different than what we've done in the past. So we're basically going to reverse engineer Travis's gear. And what we'll do is we'll have Travis. We're gonna basically look at Travis's gear, and when we examine it, we're gonna say, oh, you know, what is that?
Yeah, it sounded like it came back and then crashed again.
It's responding. Wait, I'll tab back to the game.
Now they're saying it's back.
Oh, okay.
Back,
All right,
back,
all
back.
right, all right.
See,
Okay.
see, it never really left.
So we're really back, I think. Okay, so meanwhile, not sure where it cut off, but congratulations, everyone. We hit our stretch goal of 35,000. Everyone now who spent $5 or more has the cylindrical automaton pet, the blue electrical sword, and the float meditate. So if you spent $5 or more today, starting at noon, or all the way up until midnight tonight, you will have gotten those 3 stretch goals. And we're well on our way to getting the next 50K goal because we're already up at 37,500. So awesome. So today we're going to talk about combat and crafting. And so it's a little different than our normal combat deep dives because what we're going to do is we're basically going to reverse engineer Travis's gear. So let's start looking at what you're wearing, Travis, and we're going to reverse engineer it. And Chris is going to tell us how the stats work, and B is going to tell us how we made it.
And I'd love to hear Travis's explanation of why he chose each.
All right. So
Uh-oh.
so let's start looking at your stuff.
Okay, why I chose what? So if you're a new player, we'll get into like what to shop for if you're a new player, because this is all kind of later game gear. It's I made it myself, and as a lot of you know, if you are shopping for gear, if you're crafting for gear, when you roll, you have choices of what to apply and what not to apply. So this right now, I'm wearing my PvP gear, which is going to be completely different from what I look for if I'm fighting a dragon or if I'm fighting. So for the case of this, I like a lot of intelligence. Because then when I have my buff deck up, my intelligence gets high. Because my playstyle.
You might want to turn off your dev info.
Yeah, a bunch
in
of
the console.
dev tooltips false. And one thing, you know, with our crafting system, we put it in the hands of the crafter to kind of customize your equipment. So when you're crafting it, you're guiding your gear towards a certain build or certain way you're going to use the equipment. So while in a lot of games, you find certain stats or certain modifiers, and then you try to go find equipment with that. In our game, we put that in the hands of the crafters to kind of custom create that stuff. So like in most places in our game, we put a lot of power in the hands of the players and then the crafters to control kind of what they're creating. So the crafter has a lot of control over the output of what he's creating. And some of these times it's a thing where you don't have a choice, or where the choice is explicit, like you're choosing components. And another one is where enchanting and masterwork, where you have a choice. That's kind of what he was talking about. So as you create a crafted item and power it up, a lot of different choices along the way that you have to guide it to where it fits certain play styles or things that you're desired.
So look at your helmet again. So what materials? Oh, it's still showing the dev tooltips. What materials is it made out of?
So I did Carapacian cloth, and then I like white iron for my chest. If I were going to be like a DPS melee, I might make that out of copper or bronze to get more melee crit.
And if you hold down control and when you mouse over it, it's a longer one, but you can see the actual breakdown of each one. So each one of these components that goes into it contributes a certain stat to the final. Those are calculated up when you see it, so it's not too long. But he's talking about sort of choices he's made along the way. Each one of these a choice for trying to send his gear, customize his gear a certain way.
Yeah, right there where you see what I'm getting from having chosen white iron is damage resistance and health, where had I chose like bronze, it'd be, melee damage.
So I'm looking up at the top, like right at the top there, after armor set bonus, and it says damage resistance and damage avoidance. So Chris, can you tell players what the basic difference between damage resistance and damage avoidance is, and why that's important for different play styles?
Yeah, and I'll keep this short because I've covered this in great depth in other talks before. But damage resistance is the max number of points that the armor can stop from attacks. Now that is, it takes the sum of all things. So you may get 3 points from your helm, 5 points from your chest, 7 points from the rest of your stuff. It adds up. So all that piles up. Then there's also some skills that can add to it, and then there's also some spells that can add to it. But that's the max amount of damage you can stop. Now when you see the damage resistance max 12%. Oh, that's for the one piece. So the damage, that's the max 12%, is showing the maximum percentage of a hit that'll hit. That'll also, just like the other, adds up. So that adds up all the pieces of the armor. And in a full suit, I guess if you look, your total max is 47%. So with him having 15.7 damage resist and 47% max, that means he can stop up to 47% of a hit. But no more than 15.7 points total. So if he got hit for 30 points of damage, it would stop about 15.7. If he got hit for 15 points of damage, it would only stop about 7.
So kind of to the point B was talking about is I have a play style for this one type of play that's PvP. So I like to be a glass cannon. So my pieces don't have a lot of added damage resistance. As I go through these, I want a lot of intelligence. I'll get into the wands and things later.
Your glass cannon has 856 hit points.
Yeah, well, I got a lot of that off the. I got some good health rolls on the chest, I think.
Well, a lot of it too is you're sacrificing damage resistance and avoidance for straight hit points or straight stats.
Yeah, that health and focus, a lot of focus, because then I can go shield of air. Where if I were to switch. I'll just do this really quick and then we can go back to it later. If I were to switch to this, that didn't work. Where's my, oh, here we go. If I were to switch to this suit, there's a lot more because this is kind of an anti-dragon. If I were to tank a dragon or a troll or a boss monster, I went for a lot more damage resistance for that.
And for the new players out there who don't know all the details, these decks that he's built up there, when you build a deck, you can assign a set of gear to it. When you see he has a deck named Dragons, that has the skills he wants to use, and it also has the gear. And with a single button, he can swap into that. It may take a while and use a lot of focus if it's changing a lot of pieces, but it'll change our entire set of armor out.
Yeah, the goal is that you can change the armor. We don't necessarily want people changing in the middle of a combat a lot, but certainly when you have a little bit of downtime, we want it easy to change your build, change equipment associated with the build. So there's this definitely tight relationship between your build and your equipment. And as you customize your equipment, you can customize it towards certain skills and stats and things of that nature.
So I chose, I like to blink around and slow people with ice and polearm skill. So if a melee guy gets me on the ground, I'm in big trouble. But that's kind of the play style I'm okay with. Sure. And then as far as gems, one of the late game crafting is I like to put wording on my chest because it's really hard to get resistance from other types. And then if you put one gem in, you can also oftentimes roll the opposite school. So I ended up with earth resist and air resist, if you can see that on the bottom right. So that I like to go for the word gems, but then on my rings and my necklace I go for plus water attunement. I think I got a warlock chain on right now, but I just like to get the extra attunement, extra damage. And then going into my weapons,
So real quick, let's make sure that people understand. So there's basically when you go when you can add gems to gear, but there's basically two directions you can take when you add gems to gear. You can either make it defensive or offensive. And the way we call that, we have basically warding gems, which add resistances to your gear, or you can add regular gems, which add offensive capabilities, which is either through attunement, or in the case of like a weapon, you can add like procs, i.e. Like if you add like a necromantic gem to a sword, you can get like a life drain on it. So think Stormbringer from Elric.
Yeah, and the goal with our gems is whenever you're doing enchanting, certain enchantments are locked off to you. As your skills increase, you get certain other enchantments unlocked. But what we do with gems is when you socket a gem into an item, that then potentially unlocks enchantments associated with that. So it kind of creates this synergy of when you put a fire gem in an item, it unlocks enchantments associated with fire. And so that helps you sort of further customize. You know, once you are enchanting, you're deciding to put a gem in stuff, which means you want to send your equipment this way, then that unlocks other things associated with that. So there is this kind of choice you're making to send it down a direction to unlock enchantments associated with that.
Right. Without getting the crafting table and explaining all of crafting also, as you go and you get to the alchemy enchantment, like he's saying, you get a certain table to roll on. If you're going to put a gem in, especially for weapons, I recommend put the gem in first.
Sure.
And then, because you'll roll on the stuff you really want, which is these, you can get extra attunement if it's a wand in the school you're using. So what I'm trying to get here with this build is a really big ice arrow crit. And so I've gotten more water attunement, I got more ice arrow damage. So you can roll a specific skill multipliers on the enchantment table, which you might get something you don't want or a skill you don't have in your deck. I don't recommend changing your character to the weapon you ended up with. Shop around and get your playstyle and try to, most people build, 4, 5, 12, 20 wands at a time to get the perfect wand they want, and they'll sell the other ones. So even my other hand is a spear, but I was trying to get ice arrow damage, and I got that from the enchantment table. And then the puncture damage, I use puncture here in my deck. That's number 3. So I got a little extra puncture damage there too. But I'm trying to get weapon critical and critical chance and critical damage and spell critical damage, because in PvP you want those huge crits that kind of change the course of a fight, to where if I were to switch back over to
and so real quick, that's a good basic point, for beginners. What's the fundamental difference between just base damage and critical damage, and why would you be more interested in? Because like one of the things you can choose when you're crafting is, do you want to increase base weapon damage, or do you want to choose like crit chance or crit damage? And why would you pick between the two?
And I think Travis mentioned a little bit, but there's what you want for PvE is generally players I want to maximize DPS absolutely across the board. You don't care as much about criticals. I mean, criticals will boost up DPS, but really you're just looking for anything that will increase your base hits. Now for PvP, you generally want more big crits. You want more crits and you want big crits. And that's because a lot of times it's the fight to get them, close enough so you can one-shot them at some point. And if you're hitting him with a lot of little stuff, the guys will tend to be able to heal up. So the crit chance is how, your percent chance to crit. There's another stat that is crit damage, and there's ways you can modify that with skills and also with crafting. But what that does is it increases the max hit for crit. So basically, if your weapon damage does like X to Y, maybe it's 10 to 35 is what your weapon damage is going to be. That's actually a smaller range than that recently, so more like 20 to 35. So if you get a critical hit, your damage will start at 35. So it'll start, a critical hit will be the minimum damage for a critical hit is the maximum damage for a normal hit. And then it goes up to a multiplier. Generally it's up to 2.5, but there's lots of stuff you can do to get it up to 3.5, 4.5. I'm not sure what the maximum is, like maybe 4.25, maybe the maximum. Tried getting there a few times, but this is really important to guys. I know he comes up occasionally when we talk about PvP, but that's one of those things like Valo, Frostbane. Yes, I'll mention his name again. He's really big on sneaking in, trying to get a one-shot kill on someone, and then running out of there before he gets killed. But that's really big for PvP to end the fight before someone else can get off a potion or heal or whatever.
So these are, I mean, these are plus 18 plus, you know, if you're a new player and this is out of your budget and you're not worried about, you know, it's just not in your, that's not what you're worried about right now. If I was a new player and I was shopping for armor, I would look for damage resistance, and your stats are pretty low.
Yep.
So some plus stat gear would be nice. You know, plus 2, plus 4 gear. You can find that for
It
a
adds
couple
up.
thousand. And then for weapons, I would look for plus damage. Don't go for the crit. And then go for plus skill damage if you can find it. So I actually parked here on purpose because there's some nice armor and weapons on these vendors. And you'll look at these prices, and if you're new and say like, well, okay, that's not in my realm of anything I'm possibly get. So shopping through these, I would look through.
Yeah, real quick, I want to talk about this plus number. Every item has an item score, and the item score is effectively a summary of all the components and enchantments associated with it. So while, you know, a plus 12 and a plus 12 aren't of equal power, they're of equal potential. So that number kind of gives you an idea of, you know, how much time, enchanting time, has been put into the item. So that is a summary of the power. It's not exact, but it's kind of the best thing we have right now.
And so these are some armors as you go shopping. So for me, I would look for, hey, I used a specific skill. I use thrust a lot. You know, if you're a new player and you're using swords, you can use thrust. So a weapon that has plus thrust would be great. If you find a great sword, but it's, you know, kind of featuring skills you don't use in your deck. And that kind of goes back to what you're fighting. So on my, so these are all expensive, but really nice. And you can kind of pick the of thaumaturgy or plus theurgy or lunism. That's kind of the school. So you look for the school that you're kind of, and that's dependent and derived from the gem that they put
Yeah,
in it.
when you socket it is when it does the prepending of the description. So you can tell at a glance what is it socketed with once you learn these sort of terms.
I was about to say, this is a really nice one. What does this cost? Does this cost 2 million? This is a 2 million one. I was like,
I've never seen a plus 20.
I might buy that, but then no, it's so I actually parked here, and so let's say, you know, like I have, you know, 3,000 gold. None of this applies to me. Go shopping around, and you can find some stuff. Is this guy? Yeah, we're in Britmart right now, but there's vendors all over. New Britannia Marketplace. There's Novian Market. If you go by price here, there's some good stuff in here. Some plus 10s for 4,000. You know, like shop around. You know, save up your money a little bit, and then, you know, people might be rolling stuff as they're crafting, and they're trying to get to a specific goal. These master craftsmen. But as they have cast-offs, like I said, because they're not rolling exactly what they want, usually what they do with all the other ones that as they go through is they'll throw them on vendors. So look around for vendors that are, you know, their cast-offs might be, you know, their trash might be exactly what you want, your treasure.
And also a reminder, gear is not permanent in our game. It does wear out. So yeah, so even if you could afford that plus 20 wand over there that's super nice, you may not want to buy it because again, that it only has so much duration. And if you're low level and you're out there, you're probably going to be doing a lot of killing stuff and going through this stuff, getting hit a lot. You know, your armor's going to get destroyed, your weapon's going to get destroyed. So don't feel like you have to start with stuff that he's showing you.
Yeah, so
we're showing this stuff off again because it's aspirational. It's something for players to look forward to. But this is really, really high-end gear that he's looking at.
So I was saying, you know, this is versus dragon. So I have, you know, I wanted plus rend and coup de grace because that, you know, that's a monster with a lot of hit points. So rend is going to. So let's say I was running around just, you know, doing control points or fighting a lot of lower end monsters. I probably wouldn't want rend or coup de grace because the fight's going to be short. I'd want, if you see the skill bonuses at the bottom, I probably want thrust or double slash, you know, the skills that I'm using a lot to burn down a lot of guys quickly. So you can kind of, you know, have situational gear. Even though this is PvE melee, I'd probably have all copper plate and then completely different stats on my sword there for, I didn't craft another set for that case. So kind of it's just like.
Raw damage is, I mean, that's useful on anything though.
Yeah, it's good on bosses. If you're fighting stuff with like, you know, you're so much.
They go from 20% to
dead.
So
a little hit.
That much.
You know, so a few hit points of just a rend or thrust would kill them. Then that, you know, maybe just put thrust on it. But kind of go with your playstyle. If you're just starting new and you just have a few skills and your playstyle is not changing a lot, you know, like shop around and just get, plus some damage resist, plus some stats would be good. If you can find some attunement in your specific school that you like to use, that's a big boost early on.
And when you're looking at the gear, does the material it's made of how much is that going to matter to you? Like,
Early
Like-
on, it might, you might shop. I would just go for the best, resist or plus health and plus focus is a big gear when you're first starting off. I think the material, that's when people really start fine tuning and crafting it, maybe mid game, end game, which doesn't take that long. Maybe play a month or so, you're going to start, wanting to use different gear. And there's rare, I don't know if you brought a sheet with it, but B has added, if you go in the world and fight some monsters, they add drop like really rare components that you can use in crafting. I haven't used those in any of the stuff that I made for here today, but you can get, troll handles that add a ton. You can get elven bowstrings.
Yeah, there's certainly right now there's more sort of variety in the crafting of components. And one thing you'll learn is that, if it is a copper component, it kind of, while it doesn't have the same stats, it has kind of the same philosophy. Like our copper stuff is generally DPS, where the iron stuff is defense. So if you see something like a copper dagger, it's more, about criticals, and copper armor is more about criticals, where iron armor is more about base damage and resistance. So while those things don't keep the exact same stats, they keep kind of the same philosophy. But there's kind of two tiers of components in crafting, but there's a third tier that kind of comes straight from drops. So, each one of these weapons has components built into it, and through the salvage system, you have a chance to reclaim those components inside of an item. So we started to add certain classifications of items that are more kind of race or boss based, so that when you kill elves, they'll get a bow that has an elven bowstring in it. Now you can just use the bow, or if you salvage it, you have a chance to get a bowstring out of it that you can then craft something with. So there is this kind of, you get loot drops, and then you try to find the components in those items and then use those for crafting. And that's certainly something we want to do more of. We plan on adding a third tier of equipment straight through crafting that's associated with the standard gathering production system. But right now, we're probably going to add more of the boss-based or race-based components that give players sort of an extension of the loot that they find. So you find the weapon, salvage it, try to find a component inside of it.
So this is a player that I fight a lot and I never win. His name is Optic Tank, but he's just showing us what he uses to PvP. This looks like his mage. This is his ice build. So he's got some really nice stuff. I just saw he's getting 23 intelligence, and from his helmet alone, from his hood alone. So this is obviously a build for a lot of intelligence, a lot of spell damage. Yeah. And he asked me when I said, show you my gear, which one do you mean, the spear? Because if he had a spear deck, it'd probably be, looks like somebody enchanted their Warlock's Chain, which is so you have to go all over the world to find components from bosses to craft this, and you could break it trying to do that. So that's
not anymore. You can't.
Oh, that's right. Well, I'm sure when this was made, yeah. So like he went for the extra attunement, he went for the extra damage. Looks like his wands mine's about that. This one's better than mine. I like that. So he's got for a lot of stats, a lot of int. Yeah, a lot of int. Move rate, and so I kind of put there. I wrote down the things to look for, and possibilities if you don't know if you're crafting to try and build them, and or if you're shopping for them. So if you're shopping for a helm, possible things you could get are stun resist. That's great. Focused regeneration is amazing. Everybody goes and gets their blessings during combat. It's reticking during combat. Focus regeneration. Actually, I'm not sure. That might be out of combat, which would not be as good. Focus cost for spells, so that's just free focus as you cost stuff. On gloves, you can get attack speed, you can get fizzle chance, and what kind of gloves you have on is kind of a big deal for fizzle chance and what you're doing. So I see a lot of people, even though they're plate or heavy, they're around with cloth gloves to kind of reduce that chance of fizzling.
Gloves and helm both increase the fizzle chance more in proportion to like what the gloves actually give you. And that's just, again, that's kind of for role-playing reasons. If you're going to be casting spells, you need your hands, and wearing plate gauntlets or whatever is going to make it really tough to cast. And I just want to throw out on a semi-related note to what he was just talking about here as a tip for new players. Please go get food. It will change your play experience if you actually go buy some food. Just go spend for a few $100 gold. You can get some good food off of a vendor.
Or even if you're kicking in crates.
Hours. Yeah.
If you're eating no food, kick some crates and barrels open, eat that lemon or eat that, and that'll give you a little bit. It's better than nothing. It's just free buffs. You can have 2 active at the same time. So boots, you can get move speed. So if I'm shopping for a wand or a staff, I want spell, critical chance, and damage, spell damage, and then plus attunement is huge. It's really nice to have. But if you're just starting off, a wand that's like plus spell damage when you were just using your fists or the newbie staff is huge. You could find for 1,000 gold or 400 gold, some kind of wand out there or staff. And then PvP weapon, I look for crit chance, a specific skill that I use, a specific spell that I use, like I'm saying the plus ice arrow damage and plus puncture down there. And then PvE weapon, I like to use wards in my ring, so like in that dragon deck, I didn't bring attention to it, but I have all fire warding on my necklace, on my ring, on my sword, and on my chest. Those are the slots you can put a gem into. So I've used the gem to get as much fire resistance as I can. And then I went for, like I said, the plus skills that I'm using against the dragon, Rend and Coup de Grace. And everybody plays differently. I'm sure people figure out better builds than I have and different kind of builds.
And also on a related note and tip for the new guys, again, $5 will get you 4 crowns. My usual playthrough experience that I do, I'll reset my character quite often and give myself 4 crowns and play through the starting experience and then go to a pot or a decent town, find somebody who's buying crowns. You can usually cash those 4 in for about 16,000 gold or so. And that is enough to get a set of like +3 to +7 gear in all slots that you want.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
Also food for several days. So right now, if you're looking at trying to get all these stretch goal items that are coming up, give us $5, go get 4 crowns, and it'll totally change how you play just to go and do a little shopping. Sell those to other players.
And if you don't want to use real money, just adventuring through the world and going back to town and selling, the junk you get off bandits, you'll get, a few thousand fairly quickly. And you can get a full. I see people get all the way to, level 40, level 50, and they're wearing vanilla gear. It's like they would have gotten there so much faster.
I was trying to sell things. I was trying to.
Yeah.
Trying to.
But if you don't want, if you can't, or that's just not your play style, or you're just starting out, and maybe you're a visitor, or you just got the game and you're not sure to go out and buy new gear no matter what, because even if it's just a couple hundred or a couple thousand, everything will go faster. Things will die faster. You'll live longer. Just upgrade your gear.
Yeah, and and there's not just upgrading stats. There's also visual upgrades you can do to your gear. There's the whole pattern system, right?
So that's one of the coolest things I like when people do in MMOs is let you might like the look of an item. Kind of in other MMOs, everybody's wearing the same shoulders because they got the best stats. So everybody kind of has this same hodgepodge of different visuals. But in our game and a few others, but ours is great, is you can find patterns for kind of the similar style of equipment and then put those visuals through crafting onto the item that has the stats that you want. So for instance, I really like the look of this. So this was just a regular chainmail chest, but I love this elite elven fighter. So anytime I'm using chain, I always pattern it to use this. And I did that through crafting. I had a pattern. You can get that. Some of them you get through the store, some of them you get through killing monsters, some of them you get from finding those items and then breaking them down and salvaging them, and then sometimes they'll yield pattern. It looks like he's got the same on that I do. So a lot of these people, their stats are great, but they've gone to the trouble of kind of making their unique look. Like I like the stats of bone armor, but I might not like the look of bone armor, so I'll make them, I'll change I'll pattern on. So if you see a lot of PvPers, they have these hoods on. They like the Kabbalist hoods. There's Oziel's got one on. And, they're not all using hoods that drop necessarily straight off of Kabbalist. There's patterns, and they like just the look of that. So they'll pattern the gear or the stats that they want. And without going to a crafting table, there's all kinds of different patterns. And
yeah, B is really set up an amazing system. Where the pattern, the one thing though, we do constrain it somewhat. So cloth patterns have to be applied to cloth gear. So even though you can literally fight in a wedding dress, that that wedding dress can only be used on cloth armor. So you can't use a wedding dress pattern on plate armor.
Yeah, we try to at least maintain, the consistency of archetype there.
Yeah.
You certainly can't sort of hide yourself. Like you could have really powerful armor that looked kind of shoddy, but at the same time, at least it's in the same vein.
Yeah.
Like this admiral's chest armor.
Sure.
I love the look of it. It doesn't really come with stats,
Right.
but then I made a really nice epic cloth chest armor, and I patterned this onto it. And you can change the colors of a lot of the things. Some leather and some plate you can't dye. I don't know if we're ever going to do that. Some we might,
will
but
eventually.
but there's a lot of crazy dyes too. I can make this rainbow cycling, sailor armor. Now I'm a rainbow admiral, but I'm getting the stats off the epic cloth chest armor. So you can really kind of.
And that really helped us a lot because we had a lot of really amazing armor visuals, but we didn't want to go back and try to fit them into kind of the progression system because it was just too complex. So it kind of is nice that we have these two separate paths where one is you're crafting the armor for stats and power, and one where you're trying to apply visuals to it, sort of post-processing effects. So it's nice that people get attached to the armor stat-wise, associated with this build, and then you kind of start worrying about the visuals of it. So it's nice that you can kind of have two separate paths where you're trying to work on your stats and work on your visuals. So it's nice that you see all these players are so well, that their equipment looks so nice and are so well decorated because they kind of have that system. You don't have to sacrifice stats to get visuals. Now, certainly there's some restrictions as to stay within these certain lanes, but at least it gives you a lot of flexibility.
And one of the things that I noticed when you're going through there, which probably mentions the difference between patterns and eternal patterns. When you get patterns off of things in the wild, those are generally patterns, so you can use it on, to make your sword look cool or whatever. But when the sword is finally destroyed, you lose the pattern. The eternal patterns are generally things you bought off the store or got for some type of reward. You can apply it to something, and then when that piece is worn out and you just can't repair it anymore, you can break it down and get the pattern back and apply it to another suit.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you see something that's an eternal pattern. That's kind of a big deal.
I'm just trying to make sure if someone purchases something from the store that it never goes away. You spent your hard-earned money on this, so it gives you effectively you're buying the potential to apply the visuals to any armor at any point in time.
Yeah, I can't get this leather pant look on the cloth, but I just love these leather pants with knives in the thing that every one of my belts just includes epic leather pants because there's knives on them. So I take actually a stat hit for that. I actually like the look of these boots, but they're pretty good. I went fortified instead of epic just because I think they're cool looking boots. And as you see, like a lot of these people, their armor has that kind of blinking sheen. That means it's been enchanted. So if we go through their armor's enchanted. So it looks like they've probably taken the new Darkstar armor. I wish they would stop doing that right next to me. So they've taken the new Darkstar armor and they've added stats to it. So you can't see all the stats on somebody else's equipment by just mouse overing this way. If she put it in a trade window, then I could see it. So that's a really cool looking two-handed sword skin they put on there. So they've taken a suit of chainmail and a sword, and they've done all the new Darkstar stuff on it. Oh, they didn't want me to look at them. They ran away. I don't think this has stats on it. I'm just going to guess. That looks like a town outfit. And then, like we were saying, you can link stuff to decks. So when I go to my buff deck, I actually have a cloth chest armor because I want reduced fizzle chance because I'm not going to fight in this, so I don't want to fizzle any spells as I'm just trying to rebuff as fast as I can. But people have decks for, I was talking to Matt earlier and he was making, he hated searching through his inventory to find different outfits for different stuff. If you got the room, I have decks in here that are just for stupid outfits. I have a whole deck just to look like the Wicked Witch.
Nice.
I have a whole deck that does nothing except make me look like a French lounge accordion player.
Yeah, it's nice that our combat decks, serve a purpose just for changing armor.
This is for playing Gus Ball. This is the official Gus Ball. You're only allowed certain skills. So I thought I had changed that since that's not very practical for playing Gus Ball. And I have a couple characters. My other character has more
This was awesome. So that was our combat and crafting deep dive. As usual, there's a ton more to talk about. But hopefully you guys get just an inkling of the incredible depth that the intersection between crafting and combat has in our game.
Yeah, look for guides, for player-made
Yeah.
guides. If you're starting out crafting and you don't know what's good, or you don't want to burn a lot of materials, there's guides on like show you spreadsheet-wise, table-wise, the benefits of every type of material and why you might want to use that, why you might not. So
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, B and Travis. All right.
I need to do.
Go back to camera. There we go.
Hello,
Sweet.
Richard.
Surprise, Richard!
Hey, I'm here.
Which
All
one do I
right.
go to?
And meanwhile, while we were doing all of that, we got
Are we getting ready to get to the world building tours?
$45,000. We're only $5,000 away from the next stretch goal.
It's been a long time since we had a prize inning.
Yes, we have to do
I think
prizes.
they're
I will
honest.
find those really quickly. As soon as I can sit down. All right. So we are late for our 4 o'clock prizing, but I will get those going. Do you need the mouse? Okay, here's the mouse. All right. All right, so 4 o'clock prizing. 9 crowns goes to Moofnapa. A bank upgrade goes to Frank de Tank, 36. Heraldry Rectangle Shield Eternal Pattern goes to Hannah Alpenglow. Bathtub of Choice goes to Mehalik, 216. Property Manager, 5 additional slots goes to Bushmaster. Congratulations, everyone, on your prizes. And so we just finished our combat and crafting deep dive. We're about to start the world building tour, where we're going to check out a bunch of the new places in the map. We're going to check out Tenebrous Harbor and Penmar Island, and we're really close to the next stretch goal. So so a reminder: everyone who spends, all you have to do is spend $5 today, and you will get all the stretch goals. So far, we've gotten Float Meditate, the Electric Sword, the new Automaton pet that's cylindrical shaped. And next up at 50,000 is going to be the Electric Halberd and the Electric Staff. And then at 65,000, it will be the Adobe Dome Deco set. And then at 80K, it will be the white Aeronaut helmet and the black Aeronaut helmet. And the all-metal crossbow. So very, very, very exciting. And we're only $5,000 away from the Electric Halberd and Electric Staff. And so, and reminder that we're expiring stored credits on Monday. Those are being converted to crowns. And so now I'm going to hand it off to Richard, who's going to give us our intro for the world building tour.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Yes, I see Dan is lurking in the corner there to take over here in a minute. But as a little setup for that, when we started building maps for this game, I've sort of laid out in front of the map building team a few kind of platitudes that I really hope that they would achieve with each of the maps that we created. And at first, or the maps that were created early on were hard to come up to these standards, but these guys have done a phenomenal job where not only have the standards I'm about to mention been put into all of the recent maps, but they've now had a chance to go back and put them into the earlier maps. And I personally am just thrilled that these sort of goals are being met. And what I mean by that is that every map that you go and explore should not only be beautiful to explore and have that kind of sense of discovery as you go around paths and over mountains to see new vistas of beauty, but and not only should those maps have a base spawn of whether that's natural creatures or resources that would be appropriate for that type of map to go find, but all of the maps need to have story elements in them. They need to have puzzles. Those puzzles need to have clues. Every map needs to have plentiful traps for the unwary explorer to fall into. In addition to the main plot segments, we want to make sure that the world is filled with side plots or kind of extra activities, in particular activities that will lead you to demonstrate or fail as a person of virtue, to where you can take your karmic values of truth and love and courage in a positive or sadly negative direction. So that's a lot of things to keep in mind with each and every map that is built, and especially now that we have all those tools finally online for people to be able to do that. They've I think done a phenomenal job of reaching these goals. And so Dan, Keith, I trust that you are going to take everybody through and show them some of your fine handiwork, the team's fine handiwork. But don't forget, I'll be watching. I'll be watching for those traps and for the clues and the puzzles and the virtue tests. So don't fail me. Over to you.
That's too much pressure.
Too much pressure. No, it's
give
never
up.
enough pressure. And we're already at 47,500, so we're only 2,500 away from the electric halberd and the electric staff. So congratulations. I'm gonna hand it off to these guys. I'll be back in a little bit.
Thank you, Star.
There you
Thank
go,
you,
Dan.
Richard.
Dan's
Ooh,
gonna drive.
I have the mouse now.
Dan, what's your name on the forums?
Oh, it's Plague of Locust.
Plague of Locust.
You may have heard of me.
What's my name on the forums?
What is your name? Is it
Sanio.
Sanio? Oh,
Yeah,
I knew that.
that's us. What do we do?
We do all the things. No, we do level
We do
design
a lot of things.
broadly.
Level
What?
design, puzzles, special maps, wave battles, things like that.
You've been doing a lot more quest stuff recently also.
I'm not sure where we are right now, but we're here to talk about. Let's go to Braemar.
Jump into Braemar.
We're talking about the dungeon, the Compendium of Pain and Suffering.
We're leaving the party in a puff here.
So this is a scene that we've had for super duper long time in Shroud of the Avatar, and as one of the oldest scenes, it acquired bugs and problems over time to the point where it needed like a big overhaul. So I came up with a plan. I should have brought my little chart. But I came up with a plan to revamp it, but not just to do it like an incremental Band-Aid, sort of just slap a little nice coat of paint on a little area and sort of hope everything looks okay. I came up with a plan to combine some of our latest and best technology to make it to improve the wave battles, to not include some of the map, I'll call them gimmicks, to not construct maps in a way that would break these wave battles, and also probably to put a little quest in there to sort of give it some extra flavor. Anyway, you get to originally it was called Chilblain's Compendium of Pain and Suffering, so I want to address that. Chilblain was the nickname of one of our developers, the one who created this dungeon originally. As my name is Sanio, I use the name Sanio, and Dan uses Plague of Locust. Bill Kirkman used Chilblain, and it's the only scene in the game where we actually had a developer name attached to it, and it was fine for the early days of testing and construction, but we decided the name has always been pretty long. We decided to shorten it and remove the developer name from the name, so now it's just Compendium of Pain and Suffering. We have in Braemar, if you go to the graveyard, you'll see this book right here. I don't know if the sound's up at all, but there's a little bit of a special sound effect going on as well, besides the visual effects.
We've been trying to pay attention to that stuff more with Kat, our sound designer on the team. She's really been pushing us to send her tickets. And
I think she's bread vendor on the forums.
Oh, I don't know.
You
Bread
should
vendor?
know. Yeah, I
No,
think
I
that's what it is. Which is kind of funny because she showed up when I first suggested the smell the bread emote, which became the smell good emote.
Yes.
So you click on the book and you enter the scene. The new visual of the scene is we're trying to embrace the book concept a bit more. And we always like to have it when you enter a scene in a certain way. When you first click on something to go into a scene, when you actually enter that scene, you turn around. You should have there should be a connection. So, for example, if I click on a door to go into a scene, I shouldn't appear at the bottom of a ladder necessarily. There's a disconnect there. If I click on a door to go into a scene, I should be entering into a door, or at least maybe a hallway that seems like it came from that door I clicked on.
Right.
If you go into a cave and you suddenly you look at a cave, you go into the cave,
you transition to the new scene and you're in the sewers, that doesn't make sense. So outside, we clicked on the book, and now we're sort of in this sort of metaphysical, mystical realm that is within the book. And Dan was just spinning around looking at the book. So this whole area, let's take a look around this whole area. Let's get into some nitty gritty.
Ooh.
Yeah, nitty gritty, Dan. And I'm gonna keep track of the time because we only have a limited amount of time, so we want to cruise through some important bits.
So get carried away.
So what the important bits were in the previous version, the original version, were that it was room after room, each room with a battle, and it was an endurance test that brought you from the start to the end, and there was some mechanics that allowed latecomers to try to catch up, and there were also mechanics that blocked you from going to successive rooms without first beating everything in the previous rooms. So we still have that. So back up a little bit. So this room is important besides the entry room. If you look a little bit to the left and right, you'll see some of these doors. These are what we call shortcuts. So now we don't have the teleporter to catch up. You have to catch up on your own. Use your own feet, people. You know, get some exercise. We have.
There's a light spell. Light things up here. Where are we?
Just drag it down to.
I don't need to dash. Someone's going to want to do that, though. I'm going to drag it on here.
There you go. So if you look above the doorways, there's these skulls with the red eyes. Those will come in and be important in a bit. All right, so now we kind of know that this is a hub area with the several doors. So we'll refer back to this in a minute. So a player, let's talk to this narrator for a second.
Who's this guy?
He's a new guy. He wasn't here before. There was just a sign before that kind of said dangerous area. But
he looks scary, but he's talking to us.
So he's got some information, just general information about the place, but he also has a quest in here somewhere. I forget the specific path to get the quest, but say, what is this place?
What is this place?
Oh, click on Pain and Suffering. Yeah, anyway. And do you accept this challenge?
I accept your challenge.
All right, so now you've been given a quest, and the quest is to basically progress through the whole dungeon. You're going to want to try to do it anyway, and now you get a little extra reward at the end. Plus, you could always go back to him and ask him more questions. All right, so now let's go in this dungeon. So this is pretty similar. What we tried to do was keep the experience the same as it was before. And so I came up with a plan and set up the first few wave battle tests. And then it got passed up to Dan, and Dan did all the heavy lifting. So I'm the idea man, blabbing about how awesome I set this up. And then we can switch to Dan and how much he screwed it up.
Oh.
No, what? I mean, how much he improved it.
You were right the first time.
No.
But yeah, so the big changes were in layout. It's less of a linear flow and more shortcut, kind of a clustered hub and spokes type of deal. And the shortcut system that Keith alluded to, you'll see going forward. It's tied in with these skulls with the red eyes right now.
Here's a little tidbit too. You see these floating torches? I didn't want to have any torches on the ground. In the old one, there were these torches on stands hitting the ground, and I didn't want to have to worry about collision, poking holes in the nav mesh, which you guys don't necessarily worry about, and you shouldn't have to worry about. And that's why these torches are floating, and you can walk through them. We don't have to worry. It's one nice solid path grid in this whole room, and each room pretty much has a similar setup.
And they vanish, and you really don't have to worry about them, except then these wolves take their place, which you do have to worry about.
So we're not going to die yet. Let's die in a later room, but we'll kill a few and move on. So if Dan were a regular player, he would be actually fighting these wolves, but we're going to cheat.
Uh-oh. Where did that open? Ta-da!
Oh, and we see the narrator speaking to us. By the way, was there something else?
I thought I heard Richie.
That was me calling you guys cheaters.
Oh, yeah, we are cheaters.
Yes, terrible.
Look at that,
Terrible
green eyes
people.
right in front of us. Remember I told you about the red eyes? Well, here's some green eyes to let you know that this is the way to go. Psst, by the way, follow the green eyes. That's the way to go. They could always go back, because the doors to get back to that hub where you first came in, you'll always regain access to that. But the forward doors light up with the green eyes and let you know this is the way forward.
Yeah, that definitely becomes helpful as more shortcuts, open and close, and
yeah,
it helps to keep yourself oriented.
And the other previous version also had multiple different types of rooms, and we started trying to be more consistent here. So we were in a sewer style room, and now we're in another sewer style room. So basically, this whole first, I'll call it a third, the one part of three main parts is sewer themed, and then we'll transition to cave themed, and then we'll transition to a more standard dungeon theme.
For Splat. So you got, I think, tier 1 first area. Now these are the larger walls, the tier 2.
Mm-hmm. These the green eye thing, that was Dan's idea. That wasn't part of my plan. That was one of the examples of how Dan approved upon my idea to give you a little tip off as to where to go.
Yeah, especially with all the shortcuts, it seemed like there needed to be some guidance system, and I wanted to make it a little interesting too, a little flavor. So now this shortcut opens up.
He's backing up now. The
And
emergency lever right there in case you get caught inside.
Yeah, if you happen to be hanging out in here when this shortcut is no longer the efficient route and closes.
So if we were a brand new player trying to meet up with Dan, just popped in here, we can see the green lights and the hallway is lit up over there. So we go, oh, Dan's already been advancing the dungeon. Let me catch up to him where he is by following the green lights. The green eyes.
Thusly.
By the way, I was about to mention that today I saw and replied to a thread on our message boards. Some players were talking about, by coincidence, this dungeon and some of the changes. Some they liked. They had some suggestions for improvement. One I really loved was that the narrator should have periodic commentary along the way, not just this wave is dead, go on to the next room. But Dan and I have already been thinking about how we could be delivering some extra notes about what to do.
Yeah, this I like that idea of like the villain that kind of taunts you along the way, like that kind of Shodan from System Shock kind of concept.
Yeah,
something I always love. So I think that's a great idea too. We've moved up into bigger game here
Bears,
with the Bears. I think tier 3.
So there's 20 waves total. There were 20 before, and there still are 20. But eventually, we're going to get to a room in this section, the sewer section, where there is more than just one wave. And that was just in part to sort of escalate this sense of threat. And then after you finish this part 1 with the multi-wave, I think it's wave 8 finishes. After you finish that, then you get a breather with you could call it a treasure room, but it's called the crypt. You get to the crypt, and that is the marker with a little bit of extra treasure. It's the marker to let you know you finished the first section. Previously, the marker wasn't obvious at all. It was the treasure chest in the middle of a hallway in between 2 rooms. But now the treasure chest has its own special room.
Oh, I got myself auto walking forward here. There we go. So yeah, that was wave 1, but for this room. But you can see the second one spawn right behind it, which is, like Keith was saying, atypical for.
We tried to pay attention to the lighting as well. In the previous version, some of the rooms are like super dark, and you really had to have light spell. And even with the light spell, there were dark areas that it was just troubling. Right. So we put in some extra lights. Not all lights are turned on. You can turn them on or off, as you choose, whatever you want your ambiance to be. But we did try to put in some extra lighting.
There again, you saw the shortcut. And this is the culmination of the sewer section, which is a 3-wave, waves 6 through 8, I think.
We got about 5 minutes before we start talking about the next map, so let's cruise through a few of these and get to the treasure room, and then I think that'll be a good transition point, assuming everything else is ready. Tenebrous Harbor is up next, people.
So hang tight. I think we got, there's a slime wave here. They're like, hey, get back here. Too many. Can't handle it. Can't deal.
And the third wave. So this is the 3 waves in this room. Big deal escalation. Oh, you got arrows in your back. Look at that.
That's okay. I can take it. I am List Rostov God. What challenge am I too
Yep.
small for?
Door is open. Let's go to the treasure room.
And in going to the treasure rooms, the only time where we actually do a quote unquote teleport and use a ladder, but in the game world, these are positioned directly underneath wherever they, wherever you're coming from. So everything, all the space makes sense. There's no trickery in terms of teleporting distances.
So this crypt area, it's safe. There's no monsters here. There's just a little bit of treasure and a chance to collect your team again at a convenient point. So if you wanted to meet up with your teammates, there's an option here. And of course, you could always run all the way back. Did we hit those? It looks like we have some extra goals. $50,000 goal.
Yeah, is that, should we wait for Star to, I don't know, if we wait for Star to make those announcements, or if we should
I don't know. It's taped up on the wall right
Yeah,
there. I'd say
I
50,000. Woo! Electric Halberd.
Woohoo! 50,000. That means that
I
people have made not only their Float Meditate emotes and their electric sword and their cylindrical automaton pet, but also the electric halberd and the electric staff.
I'm gonna update it on the whiteboard. Oh, now you're in another section, Dan.
Oh
You're
wait,
in the
should I
cave
come
section.
back?
No, that's fine.
Yes, this is the cave
Is
section.
this the one where you drop down?
No. Well, there is a section where you drop down. There's only one way area in the map, and it's one of the rooms in this section, but it's not this room.
So we got to be careful about some of the lighting too, because as you see, there's a bunch of torches here, and they provide their own light. And when the torches go away, the lighting is changed.
So here the pattern begins again.
So we can't
Upper and
rely on the
upper
torches. Is part of my point here.
Did you want to jump ahead, or gonna skip through, or keep breezing through until
You
we?
can breeze through.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. I'll be back in a minute, Dan. You
Oh,
could
no.
ramble on without me.
Oh no, Keith has abandoned his
Be
campaign.
back, Dan. I'll be back.
Oh no. Oh guys. What some?
Can you do it, Dan? Can you handle it alone? Do you need me to zone into you and help you fight?
That would be cool. Will someone join me? Is this on? This is on live, right? Yeah. Maybe too much to ask. But,
Dan, I'm back.
oh wow, Keith.
Were you scared?
Yeah, I didn't know what to say. I kind of looked around nervously, and I did a nervous laugh.
Here's what you're gonna do, Dan.
Oh,
Go back to the hub,
okay. That's always easy.
and then let's figure out how we go back to the hub and get back to Braemar.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll kill these guys. With
And
the
then-
wave of the magic wand.
Then after we get to Braemar, then we will go to Tenebrous Harbor. Esteban will be joining us. Sorceress Steve.
He's
He's a fan favorite.
Oh wait.
You don't know where
this
you're
is right.
going.
No, I do. This is the shortcut because it doesn't have.
Oh, come on, Dan.
I'm trying. Get nervous. Hey, look at that. It's a hub.
It's not the hub.
No.
I want that book. Let's get back to that book.
Okay, we can do that. Right down this way.
If I remember, you're never more than 3 rooms away from.
Yeah, this is the furthest distance you would ever have to walk is
Yeah.
the transition into.
Ah, here we are. Okay, let's turn around.
Back to the book.
Back to the book.
Out of the land of stories. Horrible nightmare stories, but stories nonetheless.
That's when you see how much money we have so far.
Oh yeah, awesome, nice.
We have all these electric halberd / staff, I guess is where we hit. It's pretty awesome.
It's all because anticipation of Esteban's arrival.
All right, Esteban, you could sit forward and I'll sit back
Okay.
because you have more to talk about than I do.
Yes, and I'm sure you would much prefer to be the driver.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Yes, which one?
I'm
This one?
doing
This
good.
one?
Yeah, it's fine. Okay. So Esteban is here with us, Sorcerer Steve, and we're going to talk about Tenebrous Harbor.
Yes. Hi guys, how's it going? So here we are. We're going to show off Tenebrous Harbor. We just released this R53.
Is my pretty face on camera still? I can't tell. You don't know?
You are.
It's a mer-
While it's loading, we'll look.
Ooh.
Yes, you're on camera.
Yay! Hi, everybody. All right.
All right, so Esteban did the world building.
Yes.
Dan did the advanced spawning
quote unquote.
and slash puzzle.
Puzzling and battle royaling.
And I did quests. There's 2 quests. They're kind of small. One of them I want to mention as we walk around. There's a quest with an old prospector near the entrance. For about a week, when you completed that quest to the old prospector, his reward included teaching you the old prospector dance that he does. That is no longer available. That was a limited time offer and is no longer available. The quest is still there,
I didn't actually know.
but you won't get the dance anymore.
Oh.
Oh
I
yes.
just want to clarify that. I don't want anyone reporting that as a bug. It's intentional. I believe the dance is teachable. So if you know someone who completed it already, go to them and ask them to learn to teach you the dance. That's how you learn it from now on.
What do they call
Yes.
it? Deliberate scarcity, something like that.
Um,
Driving up the market price.
So Tenebrae Harbor
Yes.
was
it was
yeah,
a
it was just a copy of another small city that we had, and it wasn't anything special. But the beauty of it, the special magical nature of it, was that you actually got to fight bad guys in a city, and we didn't really have that any other places. We had a few buildings here and there, but not like a full city. So now it's been what we call uncloned.
exactly.
And Esteban could talk about how he uncloned things.
Yes. So I believe it was originally a clone of Exeter. Right. That's correct.
Probably.
Yeah. So a lot of things happened. Well, first of all, Tenebrae Harbor is located in the south side of South Pilatus, and being that it's a coastal town, I came in and I did a full biome swap. So now we got palms, we got new textures. I totally redesigned the city. So one thing that was very cool about it, as Keith mentioned, was that, well, it is a town, but at the same time it is a town and it had no player housing. So that allowed me to just feel free to move all the buildings around.
By the way, telling you 2 guys, we have about 10 minutes to explain everything, so keep that in mind for your stuff.
Okay.
Something else I want to mention, I talked about the old prospector dance no longer being awarded. We did make some other changes to fire and dead bodies and stuff. And
Oh, yes.
What was that change?
Yes, exactly. So for the first week that this map was live, you could come in here and you could see the entire dockside that was enraged in flames. So there was dead bodies. This was all on fire, including the boats. And so now, as part of like maintaining our maps and having that consistency going forward, a few days ago, as part of a patch, I uploaded a change which extinguished the fires, and also the dead bodies in a couple spots have now been replaced with skeletons.
So in a smaller way, this was kind of an event. It was like a week-long event that had a certain look and a limited time reward. And then when the week so ended, time advanced and some things changed, which we haven't really done anywhere else. So that was kind of interesting to explore that option.
Yeah, and we started doing it with this one and with the Quell Shardfall too.
Oh yeah, that one too.
Yeah. So if you go back into Quell Shardfall as well, you'll see that some of the fires have now gone away, and there's behind darkened spots. And
so the initial pitch that I had for this was pirate types, plunderers came into the town, and they meant to loot as much as they can, but their goal was probably to get to the shipyard. And Tenebrae Harbor is supposedly renowned for its ships. It's a big shipbuilder city, so they wanted to steal a ship.
yes.
But through a fortunate for them series of events, everything lined up perfect, and they were able to sort of slaughter as many as they needed to, and essentially take over the town and just like wreck everything. So they decided, we're actually going to stay here for a while and party it up. So they're still looting as much as they can, and
Exactly.
and the people, whatever people haven't died, have left. There's a few stragglers, but potentially they could be planning to leave soon. And Esteban, I think, really captured the goal I had, that the pirates kind of came in from one side, which is probably in this area, and then just
Exactly.
kept sweeping west, and eventually we'll get to see what Esteban has done over there.
Yeah. So they came on their boat and landed ashore. These are the rafts they used to get down to the beach. And like Keith mentioned, yeah, they wreaked havoc alongside the docks. We saw some of them right here. So that's what's cool about this map and about the map that we'll see later, Panama Island, is that, you know, this kind of brought about a conversation, and now we got these pirate-looking NPCs.
And one British has joined them.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
To ravage the Ravagers.
And, you know, kind of going back over here to the entrance, you know, we did talk about, like, okay, so the town has been destroyed. They came in from the sea. They destroyed this entire section of town. But these buildings over here in particular, like, these are still intact somewhat. And this building, for example, is a makeshift hospital where we can see, you know, there's a lot of blood. And this is kind of where the guards are working.
Yeah, to give it a second, they'll spawn in, and there's a few injured guards here.
Yeah, there we go. So these guys are working hard to get the few survivors out of town. But yeah, let's go back to where the destruction is and see what else is up there.
I suspect there's not enough guards to help defend whoever's left.
Yeah, and you know, we did talk about that. And as I was building the town, you know, it is a very decent town, but at the same time, I made sure not to put so many fortifications. So these guys came in, they saw that this town isn't that well fortified, and they just laid havoc.
Yeah, it's a pretty good bet that the townsfolk and the militia were too comfortable in their safety.
Exactly.
And bad planning.
Oh, we got a dead pig.
Oh no!
Oh, even the pig died.
All right, so let's start moving over to the shipyard.
Yes.
And see what's going on over there.
So we're gonna head over to shipyard. So, the shipyard. So once
Do we have
again,
any kids over here, by the way?
they're in that building right there.
And there are some at the dry dock area too.
Okay, so let's keep going.
Yeah, I was trying to decide if those kids were friends or foes.
Yeah, they're.
Well, that's up to you to decide, but I would be careful
That's
because
a good point.
How kindly
probably-
do you look on thieves?
it's probably wise to assume that everyone in this town is a thief. Everyone in this town wants your stuff.
They're
Yeah,
survivors.
at this point, it seems like it's all free for all. But yeah, here we're coming up on the shipyard, and so.
Can you go into ghost mode so we can see the guys doing the
Yes.
little jigs?
Oh yeah. Actually, they might have seen. Did they see me already?
Oh, but British is in there. Oh no, that's somebody else. So that's not gonna happen.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh.
just stay invisible, and we'll look around a little bit.
So yeah, so the shipyard. Part of the fact that this is a coastal town, I wanted this to seem like, you know, there's an active shipbuilding industry. So Art supplied me with this very nice keel and ship that's still in construction, and then I built these dry docks. And this boat in particular is where this area in general is where the pirates are kind of partying it up. We see
Okay,
liquor
guy
bottles.
dances right there.
Oh yeah, they're like just partying it up and drinking liquor.
Somebody
And
got too close.
you described this as kind of like Pirate Central, Keith?
Party Central.
Party Central
for the
Pirate
pirates.
Central.
Yeah, so this was the original goal for the pirates, these plunderers,
Yes.
and it became apparently they're best defended, and
Yeah.
so it's where there are most the biggest parties going on there, and the most drunkards.
There's a weight-based encounter there also to look for, and some rewards tied to that. Some chests at the far end of the dock.
How many bosses are there, Dan?
I think there are 6 varieties now. I'm pretty sure that went in for our 43.
So it's a different boss each time.
They randomly
Nice.
spawn,
Yeah.
and
So-
each one drops. Do they all drop the same key? I can't remember what we did. for
And
that
I
game.
believe you picked some pretty cool names with those.
Yeah, they all have interesting names.
Give us a couple of names. Give us
Well,
some names.
there might have been a Daniel, I believe.
Yeah.
Captain. I think
Is he
Esteban.
egotistical? Captain
No,
Daniel?
someone else thought of it, and I said, fine, I guess if you want me to be in the game,
I
I'll
see.
do it. Captain Esteban certainly belongs,
No,
and there was a variation of Keith as well. I think
that kid's flying around. What's up with
Kid
that?
sliding around.
that's how he distracts you, so he can pick your pockets.
Yeah.
Wow,
What's
that
that kid
is
doing?
he's
The other one comes
sliding.
up behind you.
Are you saying these kids pick your pockets?
They-
Dan, how do you even know? You hang around?
You know,
Oh wow, look at him go.
All right, looks like a bug.
yeah.
But
We'll make a note of that.
yeah, so So once again, this is the central. This is where the pirates are having a good time. You can see that they're flying the pirate flag high above town in various places.
I'm gonna cut in for a second. I noticed that on the wall, on the window over there, we have 55,000 where we
Oh.
Woo! I'm gonna put it on the board over here.
Go community!
This is awesome. I guess people love Tenebris Harbor.
Thank you guys, gals.
Keep showing it off.
Don't stop now.
Show the bananas.
The bananas. Okay, so let's head over. So once again, as I was building the town, I thought about new unique areas. Last map I worked on was called Blood River Forest, and in that area we have a fish hatchery now. So for this map, I was thinking, well, this is a coastal town. You know, let's give some idea to what would they be growing here, or what type of industry would also happen here. And I thought, well, why not have a banana plantation? So we're walking up to the Tenebris Harbor Banana Plantation. This is the heart of it all, where they package and distribute bananas through all of the Novian Kingdom.
I saw some bananas in the crates you walked past, so that's awesome.
Yes, there's bananas.
On the other side of that little, next to the wagon.
Oh, we're going to the heart of it all, Keith.
Okay. Oh, whoa.
Banana Central.
The dead dude over there.
whoops.
But then we see that there's been an accident inside
no.
the banana plantation.
Is it an accident, or are people
Well-
struggling to get the most ripe bananas?
0 days since last workplace accident. Yeah, actually, this guy, he actually may not belong to the banana.
The union?
Yeah, he's not part of the people who belong in this area. He decided he's a bit, you know, he enjoys himself some bananas, and you know,
The
plunderers
ones on
don't
the
pay
top
for their
shelf
bananas.
must be the best.
That's right.
And he could probably get it off himself.
Yeah, and his peg leg gave out, and he doesn't actually have a peg leg. going for the
Well,
joke there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a terrible end to his life.
But you know, this does point out that there might be more to this map.
Yes, alluding to a kind of a puzzle, kind of a quest
So
without
tease us
dialogue.
about the puzzle a little bit. If I were to come in here, how would I know that there's a puzzle?
So there are notes scattered around, and you can pick up on anywhere in the chain of notes at any point. But very briefly, basically the concept behind it is the plunderers are kind of squabbling between themselves for loot that they've taken, and you kind of follow the breadcrumbs to maybe get a hold of the loot for yourself.
All right, so looks like we're about to switch to East March. And I'll go get Seawolf. Star is here.
Yeah, so I got to give out some prizes.
Ooh.
And while we've been doing this, we hit a stretch goal. Did you guys?
Oh.
Did you guys talk about the electric halberd and
Oh,
stuff
maybe
already?
Keith might have.
Yes, we did, Star. I did talk about the electric halberd and staff. I did talk about those as we crossed that milestone.
Sweet.
Nice.
All right. Prizes. So 9 crowns goes to Himswall. The Viking merchant outfit goes to Audra Oakhart. Unlocked pet dances goes to Gustock. Paintings mega set goes to Di Amon. And replenishing sparklers mega set, which is a seasonal rare, goes to Nazar. All right. Congratulations, prize winners. And we're at $55,000. We're only $10,000 away from the Adobe Dome Deco set, which comes with a bonus pair of burned skeletons and some blue cylinder decos, which bears no resemblance to anything at all. Doesn't look like anything to me. So I have no idea what anyone is talking about. And so,
Any
but we're
resemblance
only
to anything else is purely coincidental.
yeah, purely coincidental. And we're only so we're only 10,000 away from that. So we're totally going to get that. I mean, that's totally going to happen. So whatever role play someone might do with those decorations once they get them is entirely up to them.
Out of our hands.
That's all on them. I'm not responsible for that. And then after that, it's going to be the white and black aeronaut clockwork helmets. And I forgot to mention, someone pointed out to me on Discord, I forgot to mention those helmets are going to have the radio built into them, like the other clockwork helmets. So you'll be able to listen to the radio stations when you're wearing those helmets. So pretty cool. And with that 80K stretch goal also comes with the all metal crossbow, which again, like if you're wearing like a bear mask and you've got that crossbow and you want to role play, that's up to you. It's all on you. I have nothing to do with that. All right, I'm out of here. you guys are going to show, which ones are you guys showing?
East March.
East March. All right, have fun.
Thank you, Star. Yeah, probably in the right area there.
And hey, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to throw in a little color commentary here too for East March, in that people who are familiar with the music of this game might be familiar with a piece of music written by Iolo himself called The Baron of East March. And so that is the foundational reason why we have a town called East March. And the story of that song was the original basis of the outline for the city.
That is correct. Yeah, and we even have a statue, presumably, of the Baron, although this statue will probably change. That's just going to make something a little more appropriate for the scene.
I think he might be in other scenes, or do we have him anywhere else, or is that
that statue? Yeah, it's not a unique thing.
And not that the Baron couldn't be in other places, but I want something more East March Baron looking, whatever that would mean.
Yeah, this is the town center, kind of cut in and created this little inlet just to really change the look of the town center. Everything is still pretty close to where it was. We have the bank over there, tavern right here, and each shop owner also has their own little home that's separate, from their shop.
And just to say this up front, Seawolf was the world builder for this scene, and I basically did spawning, cleanup, critters and all that stuff, and also maybe something else, maybe something puzzle related, so not saying too much.
You already did.
Did I say too much?
You said too much.
Something puzzle related.
Yeah, so which is unusual. We don't usually have puzzles in towns, but I feel like we kind of wanted. We were a little ambitious with this.
Yeah.
With this scene, we tried to make it as interesting as possible. So I'm just gonna wander around. It is still a player town, so there's not a whole lot to show. Let's show this side of the town center real quick. This is just the bank. The bank.
There he is.
It's really small, but you come up here. You'll have the vault and everything. It has everything the bank needs.
Guard in the vault for you sticky finger players.
I went with these glowing mushrooms as a light source, just because this area is supposed to have a history of magic, and I thought that was a really kind of a subtle way to reflect that.
And you use those mushrooms a pretty wide area across the scene, if I remember right, in different configurations.
Yeah. As we head out more into the fields, you'll see them laid out a little differently. And when I do bigger scenes, I try to do something that's like a kind of multi-biome. So I'll have biomes that sort of blend together. The upper areas have more coniferous trees, trees with needles, right? And then the lower areas use deciduous trees like these. See, like I have a conifer right here. And they become a lot more popular, once you get up into the highlands, right? They're all over the place, and these aspens kind of fade out.
As I say, because they look like birches to me, but I remember them being referred to as something else.
Yeah, well, there's actually a few birches in here mixed in as well, because they kind of go well together. Yeah, and even as we get out here, right, it starts to open up into more of a field. Here's some more of those mushrooms slewing really fast. And I don't know if any of these are the ones we're looking for. Hang on. You're supposed to say something about that?
Well, we said something before, so this time I think maybe we won't.
Okay, here we go. Here's one. Oh my gosh, it changes color.
That's interesting.
I wonder what that is about. I'm sure it has nothing to do with a puzzle or anything.
You've been going to acting class.
Can you tell? Wait, is it good that you can tell?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it is. I actually don't know. That's a good question.
All right, let's zoom around here. So this town is kind of in the middle of an undead, or in the path of an undead horde. All right, so they have they couldn't build these huge defenses everywhere. So instead, what they did was they had these watchtowers that are they're really old. They're from when the Baron, was actually alive, and they've just kind of repurposed them, or I should say, they're just using them now, but to look out for zombies. There's 3 of them. Yeah, they're kind of scattered here now, and the idea is that they light a fire up there, which then warns people about the oncoming zombie attack.
And it was kind of a tricky story, I think, to tell because it's a safe town, but we want to, you wanted to tell the story of, this undead threat, but we can't have hostiles, or at least very many,
Yeah.
In a safe town.
They've actually captured a zombie here. I'll let you guys, Private Mailer. Yeah, you guys can interact with him.
He seems like a sympathetic.
Yeah, you should let him out and see what he does. He's asking to be let out. Maybe he'll give you a quest.
Do it. I double dog dare you.
I don't want to ruin it, Richard, for everybody else. But yes, everybody should do it.
Well,
where am I going? So when they get that warning, right? Well, sidebar real quick. Change the waterfall a little bit. I always try to change the waterfall in all these scenes that I'm uncloning just to give it a different look. Anyways, back to what we were doing. So when they give that warning, right, you have the Baron's old keep here. And they've kind of fortified it, right? It's in a total ruined state. But they've refortified it. Please don't die. Okay. With, these palisade walls and things like that. And on the inside, they actually have supplies. Like, they're ready to hold out here against any zombie invasion. So rather than, building some wall around their entire town, they just did this. They just used what they had. You got some wrapped up tents, which they will need. Right, here's the old keep. Well, old hall. Not really so much a keep. For supplies, things like that. And I don't think you can hear the music, but that song that Richard was talking about is actually on the playlist for this scene. I think we switched it up to the non-lyric version.
Yeah, I think there were originally 4 songs in the music stack, and then we took out the one with the lyrics. So now it's down to the one without the lyrics and 2 other songs. I'm not sure which one we'd be playing right now, but it's definitely in there.
So yeah, as I was saying earlier, that I try to go for mixed biomes. That way, the player doesn't get, in these larger scenes, the player doesn't get bored looking at the same thing. Right? They can get a better feel of where they are, just based on the vegetation. And I don't ever want it to be dramatically different because it have to be plants that look like they live next to each other. Still the same climate, so.
Kind of the 4-quadrant idea that we have for a lot of our adventure scenes, you kind of carry that over visually.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I don't necessarily split it up by quadrant, but like I'll do it high and low usually. So in the upper areas, I'll have a different kind of tree or plant, whereas in the lower areas, right, like down here, I have the aspens.
Which makes sense, I think, more the altitude, colder and warmer, and different trees.
And I blend them a little bit, right? Oh yeah, we also have sheep.
Yes.
So this is humility, I believe, is the theme, is the virtue for this area. And the symbol for humility is a shepherd's crook. So we decided to have some sheep in here.
There's also a reference in there, zombie.
Oh yeah.
Zombie-related reference.
There are actually quite a few different zombie references, but sorry, did you say something?
Are you guys? How close are you? You got more stuff to show?
Not really. It's a player town.
Perfect
so we're
timing,
pretty
Travis. All right.
Pretty much good.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Seawolf.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Sir.
And we're up to 60K. So we are only 5,000 away from the Adobe Dome Deco set. We are not responsible for any role play that may happen with those Adobe Decos. That is all on you. Disney, please don't sue us. All right, I'm gonna leave it in your capable hands. We'll be back in 15 minutes for physical goods.
Ooh.
And come on, we're only 5K away from those Adobe domes.
Do it,
And then
guys.
it'll be 80K for the black and white aeronaut clockwork helmets and the metal crossbow. It'll be awesome. Let's do it. May the 4th.
Thank you, Star.
Right, we're riding the line. I do like the helmet though. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
So this is Penmar Island.
And this is Travis. Hi,
Dan.
Travis.
Hey Dan. Dan and I work together on a lot of stuff.
Oh, yes.
Start out here. I kind of do the art shell for it, and then Dan makes all the fun stuff actually
Oh,
function and work.
no. That belittles your actual contribution in these.
I was gonna say when you guys were driving to like take off God mode and just fight, but I'm carrying 2,400 stones in deco, so you wouldn't be able to move.
Yeah, we went even more cowardly. We went to ghost mode.
Oh, no,
So
oh my gosh.
Not only can't the enemies hurt us, they can't even see us.
Alright, we won't do that. But yeah, so we can still walk while staying in God mode. So this is kind of a pirate island going with the theme. Swim across the harbor here.
Yeah, we definitely got. Oh, that's something in the. I don't think we mentioned yet, and you've seen them already if you've been watching from earlier with Tenebris Harbor. But the new pirate NPC visuals, they made it. They made sense in Tenebris Harbor, but certainly made a lot of sense in this one.
Chilling in the bay. It's a nice tropical day out.
Yeah, why not?
I don't trust these kids.
No, you really shouldn't.
So I think Penmar, is it Welsh? It means big head, and I think one of our Welsh players pointed out that like that's slang for having a hangover. He saw the name and he laughed and it's like big head. So further up the island, Keith made me put some big damn heads. It's in the map notes.
Yeah,
this is a new pirate, guys. I think he saw him in the other zone. I kept the aggro range. I know people was thinking it was a bug. I kept it kind of slow because these pirates kind of dance and get drunk and drink and puke, and I want it to be like you're kind of brawling your way through it, and they're all kind of drunk.
Yeah, you want, that opportunity to
the mouse
do this
stuff.
thing.
I don't like the mouse. Like I think this guy, he likes to samba.
Was he gonna samba for us? Oh,
You think that's
give us the cold shoulder.
Come on, buddy. I don't know the it's set up really weird. The controls, it's like stuck to the mouse.
Swapped out, I forget what ability it was for the light spell. I don't know what's missing there, just in case you're looking for it.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry. And I locked it.
Speed. Here's a little door, some gunpowder.
Should be harmless, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, Travis, what are you doing?
So this is a little pirate town. It's kind of all
More traps.
Yes, Richard's happy now.
all ramshackle. They don't own businesses. They just come in and party and throw their junk around. It's Lord British.
There he is.
Kill the pirates for us while we show the zone off, please. But watch out for the traps. There are traps.
Traps.
So if you go in the zone, we're not going to run through the whole thing, but Dan made a pretty elaborate treasure hunt because this is a pirate holdout. Watch out for these. These are very dangerous.
Yes.
I'm in God mode, but they really hurt if I wasn't. I like to come in and watch the pile of ghosts pile up.
Yeah.
So you'll see these treasure maps throughout the zone, and then in these kind of pirate layers, there's.
If you accept my party invitation, I can follow you better.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. That's a good idea.
The map.
Send it again, maybe.
The map images are Travis' original artwork. Just put that out there.
Party with Lord British. So this is, we came up with lots of names for the Blood Bay governor, and kind of our list that didn't make it. We kept the names. This is Jen Gunn. She's one of the pirates. It's a long story. We won't do the whole spoilers. We'll do maybe this clue, and then that's it.
Oh, that's cool.
So Jen stowed her booty at hog roast time. But where did she put it? And she needs to drink less because everyone in this town drinks a lot. But you notice this kind of has 12 points. So where is it? But when is it? But we don't know anything about hog roast time, so we'll have to look around the zone some more. There's Sarah.
Oh, is she here to spoil our fun?
Well, she's here to add to her.
Oh, I don't know Sarah to do that. Yeah, I like that clue. I like the layers to it.
So Captain Dan.
Oh,
Well, Captain Dan.
I didn't write this note. I got to put that out there.
It's
This
at
is
7 o'clock on the third pier. So if we were go to 7 o'clock, Sarah's doing a song.
Sarah's shaking her booty down by the docks.
Yeah, they kind of, nobody takes care of this town. There's just bottles everywhere. And at 7 o'clock, all right, this is the only one we're going to give away if you're watching this. So
Yes.
7 o'clock on the island, this is the kind of little town. I've watched some people streaming go through this, and I gave them a couple hints. These aren't easy to find, but if you follow the clues,
Right.
there's a clue for everything.
You have to know the clue, or you don't have to, but the odds are
You're not
very
going
low
to
that you're
just
gonna
stumble upon one.
Right.
And then I think in some of the notes they talk about misleading people. So there's a lot of chests in the zone, but beware, they might not be a chest. Some of them are if you start climbing around the island. So this was from the map, just to give you a kind of taste of what the treasure hunt feels like. We go over here to 7 o'clock, which is this little, what is this? It's not isthmus, peninsula.
Peninsula, I think might be right.
Oh, there's one of the chests. But we don't have the key for it because I
Uh-oh.
didn't pick the key up in that little room. Hey.
Wait, how did that chest come up out of the ground? Did you just walk near it?
I walked through it and I got a green tooltip. I think somebody already dug this up.
And there's a
Insane.
squatting emote that you do, and there's also a sound of digging with the VFX.
So I think somebody's already been in the zone slightly before us, and it looks like they've gone through and done some of the.
Oh, okay. All right. I was gonna say I thought I was going to report a bug there, but then that would make sense. So someone beat us to the punch. Someone. That's what I said. I'll bet you that was Sarah. She's spoiling our fun. I told you.
Oh yeah, somebody's on the quest.
Ah, there you go.
There's
I'm
this,
still gonna blame Sarah.
this suspicious looking half-assembled skeleton in this pirate cove. Oh, it's getting stormy now.
Oh,
Oop.
it's the pirate curse.
We'll make it a little brighter so we can show you guys. I like it when it gets dark and foggy in here. So we'll, I could slew through it, or we can just crazy jump. I like that more.
Ooh. Having to try this crazy jump.
This keyboard is different than mine. So we'll cheat. We'll move around in character. Hey. Won't work. There we go.
Whoa!
Give you a more bird's eye view. You'll also notice these a lot of boards and stuff leading around. I think one of the clues talks about a crow's nest, but how do you get up there?
That is the question.
I don't know. You might have to jump around all this stuff.
Jump. You might have to get Travis's buff here to do it.
You don't.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay.
There's a new player house, which is the haunted pirate galleon that Bob made. This is kind of a shipwrecked version of it, but there's lots of waves and waves of these skeletons that show up on the beach, and then some show up on the ship itself, and then I think a captain in his cabin shows up when you get through a lot of
Yes, so an ominous message that shows up to let you know he's
Oh,
a
right,
hero.
the captain's in his cabin.
Those ice shards, by the way, are not a natural part of the environment.
Oh yeah,
I'll point that
somebody
out.
was fighting. Let's see if I can. Oh, I can't do it like this because we're in this weird mode. Why are we in this weird mode?
What mode is it?
Beast
mode?
No, the camera mouse.
Oh.
I thought I knew that. So there's these treasure maps around.
Angry pirates, they don't use nails or thumbtacks.
They just knife stuff into the wall. So yeah, so search around, look for the treasure maps, follow the clues around that you find in the rooms. Oh no.
Oh, no.
What is this?
Oh no, we're being pulled over. We're under arrest, guys.
We're not
no.
doing anything?
Yes, that's what they all say. All the characters are out. This is Penmore Island for you.
Uh-oh, did they pull Sarah over?
They think Wow, we've got quite a following.
All right, well, we'll ignore this traffic stop.
Your experience may vary. Oh man.
Sorry, Sarah. we sneak off while Sarah's getting.
Yeah, go into ghost mode and just pretend none of this happened.
Oh, they're getting fined for bad outfits too.
Oh no, the fashion police are here.
Yeah.
Oh no.
All right. Well, we'll leave the bus. Continue on our.
That'll teach you. Watch what you wear in Pemar Island.
So a lot
Appearances
of,
matter.
a lot of
That's hilarious.
the treasure maps. There'll be little drawings of specific landmarks, like we talked about the big heads.
I like that you made up each image with a little bit of a different style of clue.
Yeah, yeah, they're not. That's all. Once you figure out the gimmick, it's the same thing over and over. So you kind of have to think about them a little bit. I'm sure there's 9 tutorials just to walk through if you want to do it that way. But I like doing. There's an elf camp. So these guys have a small radius too, which I have fixed, but that needs to make it for the next release. I did bug that because I copied them from the town guys that I wanted to have a small radius. So yeah, it's a tropical island. Run around. There's lots of treasure and pirates and hidden chests and traps and.
A lot of verticality to the scene, a lot of cool stuff to see.
Yeah. We've been having fun with these new pirate assets and pirate themes. Busting her for turning.
Oh, the cop showed up?
Yeah, the cop
Yes,
showed up.
they did.
Right. Yeah, they'll ignore us. They got somebody pulled over now. It's kind of like, when you're speeding, but they already got somebody pulled over.
I like that the pirates are untouched by their jurisdiction.
The pirates are just doing their own thing, man.
Yeah, they're dancing on the roofs and drinking, and the police are bothering Sarah.
They don't know any other routine. They're not law-fearing citizens.
That's right.
So yeah, look for these maps. Follow the clues where you find them. They'll correspond to landmarks or directly, or maybe they won't.
Get yourself into some trouble, and maybe there'll be a reward for it.
Yep.
But maybe it'll just be trouble.
It'll just be more trouble. Trouble isn't its own reward here.
Yes, yes. It's an adventure. The cornerstone of adventure.
And we're going to be making these the pirate NPCs. Those are going to be turned into player wearables.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. Does the eye patch come with a hat on that one guy?
Yeah.
Nice.
And also, we're making pirate skeletons too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I got to see those today. They're so awesome.
Are they going to be player outfits too?
What, the pirate skeletons?
Yeah.
No, those aren't going to be player
Damn.
skeletons.
Where's the eye
That'd be
patch guy? I think people have done a good job of clearing everything out in here.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still up to Sarah. She's evading arrest.
Oh no. We got to run her.
Running.
All right, have you guys done the whole tour?
I think so.
Yep.
All right.
And then some. These crazy
Sweet.
places.
Here, we slowed her down. Yeah, we didn't show the whole island, but go check it out yourself because there's stuff all around the island.
Lots of things.
Awesome. Well, thanks. That's our world tour. We can go to camera
Thanks,
and then.
Well done, gentlemen. Well done.
Thank you.
Oh, you need the mouse. Yes. Mouse back to you. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. In a moment, we're going to have Scotty. But first, I would like to. So we are at $60,000. So we were only $5,000 away from the Adobe Dome Deco. And then it's on to the black and white Aeronaut Clockwork. And so if we can remind people, can I show those screens of, yes. So reminder, this is what we're going to get to is this armor, the white Aeronaut armor is what you guys are striving for. And that's at 100,000 is the whole armor set. But at 80K, we'll get the helmet. So we already got the little pet. But we want to get this armor, don't we? We want to get the armor, right? All right. Cool. All right. And a reminder, Monday, we're transitioning from store credits to crowns. And we've had an amazing live stream so far. Our next segment is going to be about physical goods. And I'm going to have Lord British give you guys an intro while I go get Scott, who is going to walk you through all the amazing material he's put together. And it's so incredible. And while that's going to happen, I know we're going to hit 65,000, get that Adobe Deco, while Richard is giving us our intro. And a reminder, $5. Just spend $5 today, and you'll get all of these stretch goals, all of them, just for as little as $5. It's a bargain. All right, I'm gonna go get Scott.
All right, $5 in new money to get all the stretch goals. All the stretch goals can be yours for just $5 in new money today. But as we're prepping for physical goods, you know, I know some of you have been watching this, but Scott Jones, who took the lead on putting all the physical goods together, just has done a phenomenal job. But, you know, I don't know if you know sort of the history we have with physical goods. You know, Ultima 2 was actually the very first ever game in the industry in a box. It was also the first time games had trinkets in them. That's where cloth maps became a standard for role-playing games, was Ultima 2. And by the time I got to Ultima 4, we started putting in other trinkets like the metal ankhs and eventually coins and a wide variety of other things. So with Shroud of the Avatar, physical goods was, despite the modern era of digital downloads, we wanted to make sure that we would deliver on to those who wished a big box physical goods version of the game. And so we are frankly incredibly pleased and proud of what we've got together, where we not only have a game in an actual box with the installer on a DVD in that box, but we have trinkets and ankh, and we have a coin in that box. We have manuals and cards for those of you who own property and contributed at the proper levels. You know, we have lot deeds and tinker certificates, and a ton of these things. For many of you, we're actually hand signing them. In fact, I've already signed thousands and thousands of items already. The next big load that's coming my way, I think, is the cloth maps, which when they show up will set me back some numerous number of hours to sign thousands and thousands of cloth maps. But of course, that's a joyous kind of work to do despite the wrist cramps. But when you see these physical goods, you know, I think that Scotty and the team have put together something that meets and or exceeds any other physical goods we've ever made before in a game. So back to you, Star, since I don't see Scotty.
Scotty will be here in a second. So just a couple of things too. So if you haven't seen last week's live stream, Richard is actually in the back corner signing a bunch of the physical goods. So you can see him signing those. We actually recorded Richard signing all of, we're actually going to record all of Richard signing all of the physical goods, and we're going to post that video on YouTube for everyone to see. So we have video of all of this. Also, one thing that's fun, so right now we're building all the physical goods for the backers, but there's actually going to be a version of the box that we're going to have available on Amazon for those of you who are not who didn't get to the Kickstarter in time to be eligible for physical goods. There's going to be a version. It's not going to be the same as the one for Kickstarter because that was exclusive for those backers, but there is going to be a version available on Amazon. We don't have a date yet, but soon non-Kickstarter backers will be able to purchase a physical version as well. So they'll be able to get some of the things that you see today. Like a box and the cloth map and the manual and and
the main comment is the main things you obviously can't get are the property deeds and tinkerer certificates and things that were for the Kickstarter folks.
Right, and none of the things that
you'd be very proud to have if you're a big box collector.
Right, and none of the things on the Amazon version will be signed. That's one of the things that's.
Although if you find me in the real world, bring them out to a game show, meet up in the real world. Of course, you know, I'm willing to sign them. Should you bring them to me personally?
Yes, absolutely. All right, and let's see. Here, I'll answer some questions while we're waiting for Scotty. Oh, here he is.
Sorry, I had to get a drink.
Okay. All right. Now? Yes. All right. Great. All right.
Hello, Scotty. Welcome. And I've just been singing your praises to the folks, even though obviously I don't think many of them that know you don't need to have those praises sung because they know your fine work, and you're obviously one of the fan favorites, shall we say, here on the live streams. But please, I'm going to pass over to you. Show us the current state of all the physical goods.
Oh, thank you very much. And I have actually a lot to show. And I'm going to finish up, by the way, the live stream for my part of it with excuse me, I was just running around at the very last second grabbing stuff. So I'm going to finish this up with a poem that I want to be putting eventually into a book too. As I mentioned before at the last live stream, there's a work that we're doing to help support the books, the literacy drive, and this is something that I want to show, which is the Lament of Solace Bridge. I wanted to do more literature that was, excuse me, that was based on stuff that you could that I've seen in the game, things that would actually inspire literature from in-game fiction, as opposed to a lot of the other stuff that I know and do too. So, as we begin, let us look now. And so tell me, how would you like me to do this? Up and down, is that right? Or left and right arrows? Excellent. So, literally, I'm going to take you all through everything. You know, I've seen a lot on various things recently, indicating that people just, aren't sure where we're at, and they're like worried that about the state of the physical goods and all that stuff. And I'm here to assure you right now, this is a process that is ongoing. We couldn't really start it until we'd gotten to a point where we were ready to take a kind of a good slice of what the game is currently like today. And even though we did that right around the time of the launch, I've still been updating the files since then. And, it's an arduous process. It's not something that you want to just slap together. And we certainly couldn't take the stuff for our physical goods from elements of the game prior to now. We wanted the most up-to-date things. As it is, we're already going to deal with the fact that, the moment those physical goods are out the door and being sent off, our game is going to continue to evolve. We're going to be doing changes to the interface. We're going to, be creating changes that might change the rules, or even the way that, keys get mapped, hotkeys and things like that. So it's an evolving process, but we wanted the most up-to-date stuff that we could get for all the physical goods. So we really couldn't start the process until we were sure we were ready to get a vertical slice of what our project is like. Now, with all that said, I've got a lot to show you guys. So here we go. First of all, what you're going to be seeing is both image files showing either the final files we've just sent off to the folks who are producing our product overseas, a company called MPO. But I'll also be showing photos and then later physical objects of things that have already been produced and are in the process of full-blown production right now. And I'll get to that in a moment. I have all those things sitting off to the side. But first, let's look at some of the actual files themselves. You're going to see, and I just say some, but really, literally, you're going to see all of them from beginning to end. From the moment you open the box, you start to see the actual cover itself. The file you see right now is not just the cover, it's also the fold-over sides that go top, left, right side, and bottom. You see, we finally, literally only a few days ago, were able to get our barcode in, so that finally went in as well. All of this stuff has to be done, and we have to wait for other people to finish these goods. Now, likewise, the back of the box. Finally, we made the decision on which of the four screen grabs we were going to use. We debated whether we were going to be doing the one with the dragon fighting this group of players for the combat one. We debated on whether we were going to use a different one for the city, and it went back and forth, and we finally settled on what you see even now. But literally today, before going off to the printer to create some proofs for us to make sure that the files we're giving them are the best we can give them before they begin printing, I made a small change to this based on internal input. So up to the last second, these files are being touched. Now, the image you're seeing now are the awesome photos that were sent by MPO, showing us the final look of the actual, what you're seeing are the actual the collector's badges, the little gold decals that will be placed so very carefully on the cover of the box. And these turned out better than I could have hoped. I was worried at first, based on some of the earlier samples, that they just weren't going to reflect the quality that I desired. But now seeing them, I'm so happy that we pushed and pushed and pushed until we got what we were really looking for. You can see that image and then this one. The amount of embossment is exactly what I wanted. The look and feel of the whole thing is just what I was hoping for. Wouldn't you agree, Richard? Are you liking what you see here?
Yeah, I'm in here too, and yes, that's actually the first time I've seen that myself. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm very excited by it. So again, this is what you're seeing as you're opening the box itself, you know, checking it out on all sides, looking at it underneath. And as we move forward now, the first thing you see when you open the box is the cloth map, all folded up and ready to go. And you can see we've already been testing, making sure that it folds up nicely and fits in the space. There it is unfolded, laying right on our kitchen floor in there with its red tile. And you'll see that red tile again and again. In fact, I used it as a backdrop for one of the images used inside of the retrospective booklet, the one containing the Mundane and Akalabeth stories. So this is it. This is the final approved cloth map that we said, yes, make them all like that, and they have begun. And a few little things have changed on this since the last time that you all may have seen the first examples of it we got, where the edges were sort of tattered looking and the stitching wasn't as good as we wanted it to be. But again, we pushed and pushed and pushed. And now finally we've gotten, you know, both lighter and darker versions and everything. And then finally, this is the one. This is the one that I was able to finally agree upon and say that I liked. I mean, I'm kind of, you know, a hard ass about this kind of thing. I don't want to settle for anything but the best. Sometimes my own managers will find that frustrating because they, you know, I'm kind of anal retentive about it. But, you know, we only get one chance at this. So I don't want to say yes until I am absolutely satisfied. And with this, I'm finally satisfied. And what's even better about it is it's hard to see it up close. I don't want to mess up what we have going here. But the actual line quality of this is even better than the earlier versions we got. Those samples were a little bit blurry, and I wasn't sure I liked those. But this, finally, they got it nice and sharp. The second thing you'll see as you go dig past the map is the certificate, the Tinkerer's certificate. And this I was very pleased with too. Again, all the certificates and the ones you're about to see next. And by the way, you'll notice the little sticker that's on there that has Richard Garriott, aka Lord British's personal signature, signed by hand. In fact, you know it's signed by hand because you can see I gave Richard hell for sometimes going off the edges of the actual sticker. So you know he's signing away as fast as his hand can go. And they're not perfect. They're individualistic. And you'll be seeing more of those later. Then we have and what you're seeing here, by the way, are the real things. These aren't my mock-ups. These are the ones we have gotten back from the printer. They are what you will really, really get. So, and just like that's the actual his signature on those things as well. And so likewise, here are the property deeds, all 5 of them, right? And you can see them on a slightly different color parchment. I'm very pleased with that too, because the parchment quality that I picked, we had to go back and forth with the printers until we could find a printer that was willing to print on the parchment we wanted. Most printers don't want to do that. They only want to print on paper that they buy and that they get. These folks here in town, Miller Graphics, were excellent, and they were willing to print on the parchment that we wanted to buy, and I only picked the best. So what you're seeing is that. And you're seeing the real ones here. Again, Richard's own signature on each and every one, individualistic. You can tell them all later, or perhaps you've already told them how much your hand hurt during that process, because we're looking at, you know.
Yeah. Of course, from my perspective, what I found funny about the whole thing is that my handwriting in general, much less my signature, is never very legible, but it's relatively consistent. I mean, the scrawl has, you know, themes that are clearly repeatable. But what I really found interesting for me signing this, I think this is the most things I've ever signed ever. It beats by margin. The next best one was when we did Ultima 7 and Wing Commander at the same time back in the Origin days. We made some deluxe editions we signed.
Oh,
but I noticed that every 1,000 or so signatures, I would kind of move into kind of a new something would change about the method of my signature. You know, how I would finish the word Lord or finish the word British or make the B, the backbone of the B. It's just weird. There were these little patterns that emerged in my monotonous repetition of at least those first few thousand. So,
well, even Brecken noticed that once you had a chance to rest, you'd come back later, and it would go back to being a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more legible.
So, exactly, and I would even have in my mind's eye, I would have almost this musical rhythm of it was hilarious. It was painful.
And yes, as hilarious as it was painful, because of course, though he's not signing all the things at once because there's only a certain number we have to deliver up front. Some of them have to go overseas so that they can apply them, based on their needs to the things that they have to do there. The ones that we can apply here, we're applying here on all these. In fact, that was handled just the other day, which was exciting to see. But yeah, there were 16,000 of these little things. He's not signing all of those immediately, but you worked through what? How many? 6,000, 8,000?
I don't know, 6 or 8,000 here to begin with.
Yes.
Round one.
And by the way, this is not including the maps, which he's going to be eventually signing by hand as well.
Another few thousand maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most things I've ever signed before was, again, like I mentioned, Ultima 7. At the same time, Chris was doing a bunch of Wing Commander ones, and I think we signed 5,000 total.
That's, oh my God, 5,000.
And the thing, the maps are going to be particularly hard because they're pieces of cloth that have to be laid out in front of me. Somebody has to hold them kind of stretched out, and then a signature applied. So it's that's going to be painful.
Yeah, that's a real process. You can't just do that by yourself. There's no way.
I see. You have one of my favorite things now coming up.
Oh yes. So next underneath all the certificates and the property deeds, you will find the two booklets. And the two booklets are our Epic Origin, which is sort of like a funny tongue-in-cheek retrospective, which literally, like I said, you're going to see the whole thing here, but I'm going to go through it quick. I mean, there's no way I'm going to just stay on every page, but you get to see inside. It all started with Here There Be Dungeons and Dragons, and of course that was the inspiration for Akalabeth, which you literally see here laid out one piece at a time, starting with the map, and then every room A, B, C, and D, and of course what you'll also see here are my snarky comments.
Well, in fact, your snarky comments, I'd like to pause on both your visual presentation choices and the snarky comments choices, and point out to everybody that I was only 17 to 19, well, about 17, I think, when I did these things. So these are my teenage fantasy things. So, sincere apologies for whatever was going through my teenage brain at the time. And also what I found funny was how you dealt with the fact that these things are old, right? So the paper on these is not just merely yellowed, but literally stained, because I was using these in D&D campaigns with Coca-Colas out to spill on them, and wadded up and folded and torn and whatever else. And so as opposed to trying to fight that and clean them up, you sort of embraced it to create the gaming table look. That kind of enhanced all the raggedy stains that these things had to begin with.
And I didn't have to enhance those stains at all. They're all really there because God knows what you're eating.
The surrounding parts is new, but the actual discoloration and stains on the paper are all original.
Yes. Yeah, and I played with that too, because at the points where it was obviously stained by a huge spill, well, of course it had to be, some kind of cola you all were drinking, and of course you were eating pizza during all this, and who knows what else. I tried to very carefully stick with only artifacts you can see here that would have been found back in those days. We're looking at what was it? It's the 70s, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, the late 70s, second half of the 70s.
So everything you see here, including ubiquitous pull tab, is something that you would have only seen then, including the dice that you're seeing from time to time, including all the products that you see. Those existed.
The simple plastic dice with no color in the divot.
Oh yeah, the numbers. Well, or at most, if there was color in there, it was because someone took a crayon and crayon over
right.
the
I would
numbers.
use a Sharpie sometimes and rub it in there.
Yes. I even got some really old, nice metal figures that are in there too, including one that was painted by one of our own here. And you can see the hideous, unholy aftermath of the end of that whole thing. But I was very careful not to cover any words or any of the actual things, including the little ARGH, the ARG, that you had written at one point in time right above it, right by that pizza stain. And that little wizard that you see on the upper left was painted by our own Keith. So that's actually his. He brought it in from his own collection. So yes, it gets horribly messy by the end of it all. And then it goes on into the fact that those early games and the handmade modules end up inspiring some of your initial pre-Ultima fiction, such as this, which is the first story of Mondain. And
of course, my favorite part about these stories of Mondain, are the fact that all this stuff was in flux, because it was both a piece of creative writing Well, in fact, I should point out on that about the story of Mundane, which was I figured out a way to game the system at school in the sense of my grades in any class were never particularly good, B's and C's at best. But in things like English and history, they were worse than that usually. But what I found out is that if I took the premium English, instead of being graded on spelling and grammar, they would grade you on creative writing. And so I could actually take the harder class and get a better grade, which would then be bumped up on even another grade. And so that's what I wrote this story of Mundane in Richard Hinscratch that I got. It was one of the only times I ever got an A in English, and it was because they liked the creative writing. But there's still scratch outs and gaps and missing parts because I was still filling in the details from my gaming sessions.
Now, by the way, I want to note here too that none of these, these illustrations you see on that little scroll, those are your illustrations. Those are your illustrations, and they're your runic writing. This is the runic writing you wrote long before there was an origin system, long before there was an Ultima. These are the runes that were taken off of Elder Futhark and then were adapted by you to some extent. But you can still, you could see all of these by simply finding some of the guides to Elder Futhark online.
And something I'm sure I did not do with those runes was keep them written all over my notebooks that I could leave on the floor near my desks, where I would never, ever be able to use that to, have crib notes basically that only I could read in class. I wouldn't do that.
Of course, you'd never do that. You're a pillar of honor.
Of virtue.
Yes, and virtue, of course. So as you get into these, I'm not going to go too far into them, but I kept these pages in all their glory, from the multiple staple holes in the upper right corner to the fact that you can even see your book one was scratched out by the teacher. She didn't like it being there and she wrote it down there where you had chapter one instead, which is kind of funny. But this is it. This is book one of 3 books that are part of the Tales of Mundane. We will only be providing one now, but maybe one day in the future we'll provide the rest. But this is plenty for this first one, and it's wonderful because, again, you were drawing from a lot of different really great authors at the time.
That's funny. I only just now see the strength dex imps down the side there of chapter 2 that it shows the growth of my character. I suspect that I was playing at the time.
Oh yeah, and you'll see, yeah, exactly. You'll see it all down there on the left hand side. It's awesome because you see both your gaming side and your creative writing side kind of growing together here. And it's really cool. I mean, as I go through these, not only do you see the hilarious misspellings from time to time, which I dare you to find any page that doesn't have one.
Yeah, what are you talking about misspellings? I don't see any.
And then, like in the middle of a sentence, you'll change pens to some other weird color, which is great too. And I can only imagine the poor teacher looking through this, but whoever it was very attentive. I mean, giving you excellent direction and no, don't do that, and try to say this instead. And she's check marking it through all the way, and it's really, really cool to see. Some of it's funny though, like you weren't sure how to make, you hadn't started using the Tolkien language guide to Middle Earth yet, and so you weren't sure how to put those names in, so you just left them blanks up there, which I thought were great. It looked like a Mad Lib. But yeah, you go through all this stuff. Oh yeah, here you go. In mid-sentence, your black pen ran out of ink. So, and then of course you'll also see like the paper change. If I go back a few, the paper's completely different here. It's all yellowed and nasty, but then you switch to something that somehow maintained its whiteness, but has rounded corners. I don't know, some change in acid in the design. So it goes through all the way through this, and then at the very end is your little write-up kind of, giving a simple understanding of how this whole thing came to be, which I think is great. And then it moves on from there to the next booklet, which is the actual adventurer's manual for the game itself. This too has been completed, and we just finished up the files for that, and we'll be testing those at the printer today and Monday. So the table of contents going all the way through, and now Dennis's artwork you see finally implanted. And by the way, at the end we're going to go through all of Dennis's pieces, even larger, so you can kind of see their see them in all their pure black and white glory. And you see all the symbols have been put in. We've literally been updating these hotkeys up to the last moment as we realized, oh, that's not being used anymore. Oh, we had to change that. Ooh, this is probably better now because we're no longer wanting them to close the game that way or whatever. All of these things really could not have been done months ago because we hadn't decided on half this stuff by then. We really weren't ready to lock things down. And when finally we could, I was still in the middle of making this stuff. Again, another of Dennis's pieces. And Dennis's pieces are great throughout this whole thing. You know, as Gina wrote, and then many of us rewrote many of the bits and pieces, you know, it was kind of a collaborative effort to make sure this whole thing came out. We were trying to maintain the voice of the fiction of the world too, even while simultaneously giving people guidance as to, you know, how to work the game. Up on the upper left, God, I love that piece of Dennis's. You'll be seeing it bigger a little bit later. So yeah, getting to know the locals, understanding, you know, all the different NPCs that you'll meet, an understanding of questing and what you'll be doing and your character progression, the deck building aspect of our game, and of course combat and death and resurrection, and some really great images. I love now that Dennis has started working digitally. He's able to achieve some really great effects with the, you know, the sort of the pure black and white penmanship. Really.
Yeah, and when you get to showing, are you going to show all these closer up? You said too when you get to the end of this little section. So
yes, I will. At some point in time, you'll be able to see all of them closer up in pure black and white at that point. Again, the shroud of the avatar, the sodasmith.com gave us that wonderful thing, and since then he's informed me that he's produced a whole bunch of these now, all complete on his site. It's really something you should check out. I don't think I've seen any clearer of an image of how we've, you know, how the process of crafting happens in our game. Is really nice. And last but not least, a little statement from the Oracle herself. Right. So then we move on to one of the final things that you'll see as you dig through the box to get all the way down to all the good stuff on the bottom. You've already seen this. This is the runic card, but this is the final printer's file that's given to them. You can see with the little color code at the top and then the cropping marks and such. But what you all haven't seen is this Shroud of the Avatar quick reference card, which shows all the different commands. A really useful thing, and we really busted the wall with our head trying to make sure that we got the best of them up here for you all to see, the most useful things that you would find, and really we're only missing a few in some cases. Really useful stuff here. I'll need them especially as I start going through the game because I want to finally take the chance to play through our areas of the game. But once you pass the card now, here you can see we just got an email just recently showing us what the Ankh trinket itself looks like. Now, it looks copper right now. That's not the final color. They're showing the base to us before they actually apply the brushed silver outer coating of this thing. But it is a beautiful piece of art. You'll see here the actual size of it there measured out. She wanted to show us how it kind of measured out. It's so beautiful and so delicate. I think it captures the nature of sort of our game as it travels from the medieval into sort of the clockpunk, steampunk kind of stuff. It has a little bit of that hint of Victorian to it, which I love. And then there you can see the actual thickness of it. Unlike the one that the larger one with the longer, thinner arms that is now available on Dennis's site. Eventually, this will be available too. But this is cool because it's the same on both sides. The earlier one with the longer arms is actually hollow in back to save material, but the ones that you will be getting in this box are solid and are the same on both sides, no matter which way they turn. Really nice pieces. I can't wait to see them in their full brush silver state. And of course, along with that on the bottom is the coin, which you can see here. That is the actual object that I placed on the floor, both front and back, of the Founders Edition coin, which is bronze looking, unlike the others, which I believe are brushed silver. And then last but not least, on the very bottom, tucked into its little cubby hole, shaped just the right size for it, is the installer and soundtrack DVD, which will be in its DVD slipcase, which you can see here folded open. It would eventually be put together by being folded in half on the kind of slick cardboard that it's going to be printed on. So literally, those are all the objects from start to finish. The moment you open that box, assuming that you got everything, you will see all of those things in it. Now, some people at different pledge levels got some things and some got others, but for the ones that got every single thing, that is what you all will see, and you've seen it here first. In a moment, once I get done with these images from Dennis, then I'll actually show you some of the real objects that we've already gotten to us on our doorstep while we're still waiting for the others to be produced. But this is all happening right now, folks, and it really couldn't happen any sooner, I assure you. If it could have happened sooner, I would have made it happen sooner. But even my bullhead.
We know you're just lazy.
Yes, I'm totally lazy. I just like to wait and do nothing, just finish at the last moment. No. The truth be told, I've always been pushing to get this stuff done as quick as possible, but you can only go so fast because you have to wait for the actual actual stuff to get done. It has to be done.
And let me talk now. I see you've got the Dennis illustrations up, and behind you in the room there, of course, is the wonderful art, those banners that we use at trade shows and such.
Oh, yes.
For those of you who don't know, Dennis has been working with us on all the games we've made down through history from the very, very, very beginning. I ran into Dennis first here in Austin, Texas. When I joined the Society for Creative Anachronism, when a lot of us were hanging out at Steve Jackson Games, and I was even involved in play testing some of the early Autoduel / Car Wars and other games that Steve was doing, and Origin began also to do work with Steve's intellectual property often during this early period. But really from the first time, even before, long before even Origin existed, when I found my very first publisher outside of my mom helping me with Ziploc bags that I published in my local computer store, the first national distributed product, I did not like the artist that they provided to make the Akalabeth cover. And so I then turned to Dennis and said, "Hey, Dennis, can I use one of your pieces of art instead for the cover of Akalabeth?" And that began this association with Dennis that has meant that Dennis has done the cover art and the illustrations for effectively every game we've ever done. And there were a couple of minor exceptions due to some logistical issues, but generally speaking, every single solitary one from beginning to end. But the reason why I want to mention that in light of these particular illustrations is we've also worked together through the entire history of the technology used to create art, as well as to do design and layout and manufacturing of the physical goods. And what I love about these pieces of art is there's something to me that is very magical about the illustrations Dennis did in the earliest phase of Origin, these hand-drawn pen and ink drawings that show exactly what you see here, these patterns of meticulous hand-done strokes and rhythms that I think have a unique style that is I find each of them frankly to be a masterpiece. Absolutely. And so Dennis very kindly has gone back into that style, is executing it now with the most modern of tools technically, but still executing these drawings of extreme precision as well as kind of powerful imagery. So anyway, I can't tell you how pleased I am with the whole journey. And Dennis, if you hear this, thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege to still be working with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And off and on throughout the industry, in addition to things like this, he's also done a variety of other art. I was able to work with him in other companies too. And it's really amazing the level of creativity and the degree to which he strives to achieve sort of a unique quality to all his works. I mean, and you can see it repeated again and again. And like Richard said, it maintains itself excellently since I first met him as well, and through all the time I've known him. And you're right, each one of these is a work of art, even though they feel like the smallest little areas in here. This is like a little header piece that's meant to be thin and fill in a little space at the very bottom. If you go back through this later, you'll be able to see it in the book itself. But each little coin has its little rendered lines to kind of give you an idea of the sheen and the quality of light falling on them. It's just excellent to see. Here is the piece that's used to illuminate the part of the manual that talks about player housing and decorating your own spot and choosing your lot and things like that. Here's the iconic moment that all avatars get to go through as they speak with the Oracle again and again and again inside the little the Oracle's conservatory. This is the illustration that for the part about where you'll be traveling and choosing your different destinations between the shining cities and the dire and dark ruins that are littered throughout our world. This is one of my favorite illustrations, actually. The encumbrance illustration to indicate, you can barely go on. And it's kind of funny. He did this illustration based on a little icon I made a while back to show encumbrance. And it's so funny that Fletcher ended up creating like either a merchant's or an adventurer's pack that you.
Yeah, there's a real backpack that looks just like that now in the game. I saw somebody with it today during the stream. Yeah. Somebody was down resting with that giant backpack on their back.
It's hilarious. I think the only thing that ours is missing in game is the chicken. This piece is a really cool one too, and it comes at the very beginning. Those of you all who have already had a chance to just go crazy and play through our game all the way and experience stuff early on will potentially recognize what this moment is. But those playing our game that will maybe seeing these illustrations in the online version of the PDF of the player's guide, will not necessarily know what this is referring to, but they eventually will. Of course, again, ubiquitous is the moment of resurrection. As your spirit kind of prepares to reincarnate beside one of our glowing Ankhs. I really love this piece too. A really good use of negative space and darkness as opposed to the glowing and brilliance of the Ankh itself. This is just classic Denis LeBay right here. A really, really good piece, of an up-close hero doing battle. Again, nice use of lines. And but that face, especially the face, is so wonderfully stylized Denis LeBay. This is one of those weird pieces where we're like, how do we? The ideas of these things were meant to be so conceptual. It was very difficult to figure out how to draw them. But this is the moment where you're deciding, the path that you'll be taking, whether it will be a path of truth, courage, or love in this case. And so truth being represented by the mage holding the book in front of him, the courage representing the foes that you may fight along the way, and then of course love being the beggar with his bowl outstretched, hoping for generosity from the avatar. Again, a really good piece. This may be one of the most complex pieces, and this is just great because I love stuff. And, just being able to look into the room and decide how you're going to equip yourself is just great. And considering some of the collections I've seen of players online, this barely even does their collections justice. But it really is just cool to look back into all the detail that Denis has invested into this piece. So there we have everything from start to finish, all of our wonderful stuff for the game. And now, if I can get Jack in here in a moment.
Bravo.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Again, what you are seeing here, folks, literally is the culmination of all the work as it's now coming to fruition. And if we can get Jack to come and help, let me see if we can get him in here. Because now I want to show you all some of the actual ones that we've already received. And you've seen them, like the image you're seeing right now is the map, right? But the real map is sitting here right in front of me that I can actually hold up. This is the first representation of one of the real physical goods that we have in our grubby little mitt.
And we can see that, by the way, right now, Scott. It's just in the corner. You're just small in the corner.
Well, here, Jack is about to make it full screen now. And thank you, by the way, for
what's in the corner?
Oh, the image of what I'm really doing in front of the camera. Right now, it's just all zoomed in on what's in the thing.
The mouse.
Here's the mouse.
And then from there, we need to just click on right here.
So here we go. So this is the real map that now is going to be mass produced. And the coolness of this is that I get to touch it. It's actually in my hands. And these are the ones that we've agreed upon, that we've all okayed, and they are, as far as I know, they're beginning production of these right now. This is one of the earliest things we were able to get to them. And one of the, yes, Jack is going to run away from it completely. Likewise, here's the real coin. And this is the coin that, it's still wrapped up, but this is the one they sent that is showing us the actual in-game coin, which is really cool. Having been able to approve both the look of it, the slightly different color of it, and then of course the things that they're actually supposed to have on it. And then one after another, here we go. Jack is going to put forth first the Tinker's certificate. Again, not my mock-up. These are the real ones for the printer with the actual signature stickers that have actually been signed by Richard by hand. Likewise, here we have the, looks like the castle. Yeah, this is the castle lot. Here we have, which one is this one? That is the keep lot in all its glory. There we have the city lot with its unique border.
Didn't you get those borders from like the Rubaiyat? Is that correct?
Yes, these are all the borders that I was able to snag from my own copy of the Rubaiyat, which I read to you all in the last live stream. And then finally, this is that the village lot? Yes, the village lot. So there we have it, from largest to smallest of the lots. And just so you know that I tell you the truth, behold, because this sheet is one of the 1,000 sheets that I had printed off, which all bear Richard's signature, one after the other. He has been laboring over these while he was with us that short period of time. I'm surprised he didn't break his wrist off, because I know I did a test myself, and I thought I was going to die after just a few pages. So he was quite the trooper, and it's awesome to see these. And the ones that we're not actually applying ourselves to the ones that you know, the things we've already have finished here, which we've already done. The rest will get sent off to be applied to the other things, such as the finished retrospective book, our the origin book, and that will get one of these as well, and then a few other things too. I forget which ones. Of course, they'll also be going on the book as well. Those of you who will be getting the book will eventually get too. So yeah, so now you have seen the results, the fruits of our exhaustive efforts to create these things for you, and all this wonderful goodness is finally coming to roost. It truly is awesome to see this. Now, last but not least, I wanted to mention again, just as I read the Rubaiyat to you all last time, and again, as Richard said, those borders that you see and a lot of other pieces of art that I love to take from the Rubaiyat, because that was originally hand-drawn artwork that was then reproduced for this amazing piece. It is well in the public domain. I've treasured this book for a very long time. It's well over 100 years old. It's close to 140 or something years old at this point, or 120 years old at this point. Something in that range. There's only a few hundred of those things left in existence, and so I gleefully draw from the hand illustrated borders in there to use in our stuff, as I've done for many things, because they're just so beautiful, and they really do capture, to me, the kind of feeling of fantasy that I love to evoke in most of the artwork that I make. But part of me wanting to do this kind of thing is me trying to ramp up to get the skills I need to be able to create some in-game books as well. As you know, I love lore and I love stories. I love the idea of living a second life by living in the game and experiencing that lore and those stories in a way that is inspirational and kind of helps me sort of relate to not just the game from a standpoint of playing a game, but to relate with the game from a standpoint of getting to live out this really excellent tale that I've been a part of. And with all that in mind, I wanted to start to do a series of things that I could share with you all in game as well from that side of my creativity, which is the writing side of it, and then also kind of give credence to the thing that's being done, for the sake of literacy in our world. I mean, literally, I bemoan the fact that the well-written word and the reading of excellent stories and that kind of thing seems to fall along the wayside for a lot of folks. Literacy is something that is a joy and a blessing as far as I'm concerned, and it's something that should be absolutely shared as a gift. So with that in mind, as I started playing around in the game and I wanted to begin to enjoy the game from that standpoint, I also wanted to, when I could, when I was inspired to do so, create little things that might be able to be, just as I want to do with the Rubaiyat, be created into books of poetry or whatever that could be shared with everyone. And in fact, until I have the ability to do that myself by producing it here, at some point in time, I may go into the game and may find one of the really good-hearted folks who have already asked if I would work with them to produce some book or something for their own library, or to share with others in their coffee shops or tea houses or whatever they have made in the game. I may ask them if I could work with them to produce one of these books or two as I move along, because my idea would be that I would move as a bard through the world, and I would share my poetry with people as I go based on the experiences that I've had in the game. And so one of the first one of these that I produced is representing one of the first moments in the game that I was inspired by, simply because of the horror of the events going on. And so this piece is called The Lament of Solace Bridge. A place of peace now turned to fire, with char and embers and doom most dire. The amber glow raging past yonder ridge bears witness to the fate of Solace Bridge. The dead have come, the dead have come, the dead have come to walk again, and angry are they who once were men. My eyes cast weeping to the smoke-filled sky, and a child's cry from an inn nearby. Grim is the scene of death inside, and a precious life who must abide. For the dead have come, the dead have come, the dead have come to walk again, and hungry are they who once were men. Weapons taken from a corpse with ghastly toil, as I lead the child cross blood-drenched soil, and before us a gate, and the bridge, and the slain, and a man whose face is wreathed in pain. For the dead have come, the dead have come, the dead have come to walk again, and vicious are they who once were men. I am guided by Edvard to help defend, and he claims he shall stay till the bitter end. In terror the child over bridge I guide, through rotting nightmare to the other side. For the dead have come, the dead have come, the dead have come to walk again, and vile are they who once were men. Now safe, the carnage left behind. Through fires they still rage, the winds do whine. But I am thanked for my courage despite my fears, and I'm graced by their smiles despite their tears. Edvard travels with child beyond such harm, the Sultan into her mother's arms. But my fate is to travel a different way. I must discover the truth this blasphemous day. For the dead have come, the dead have come, the dead have come to walk again, and cursed are they who once were men. And there you have it.
Wow, that is a fantastic piece, Scotty. Yes, if you get that published in the game, the publisher you work with, the player you work with to pull it off will obviously be very pleased and popular, I suspect. It's one of the most popular books ever printed thus far in New Britannia. We'll have to start a top 10 list.
That was gorgeous. That was so beautiful.
Thank you so much. Well, thanks again, you folks. Once again, thank you for enjoying the time that we spent, and thank you for your patience with the process that we are finally seeing come to an end with all the physical goods. And then when we next report about them, we'll be reporting about them actually arriving on our doorstep.
Amazing.
Indeed, here.
Great job. Everything looks great. Fantastic.
What did you just put up on the wall?
We're at 67,500. Yes. So we've got the Adobe Dome Deco set with bonus burn skeletons and blue cylinder deco. What you do to role play certain things is on you. That we're not responsible for that.
What could they possibly represent?
I don't know what they represent.
I don't know.
So we're super close. We're very close to the 80,000 white and black aeronaut clockwork helmets that have the radios built in and the all-metal crossbow. 80,000, we can do it, come on. But reminder, we've changed things a little bit this time. So the $12,000, we're going 12 hours this time. So you actually have till midnight to get the stretch goals. And remember, 90K is double experience points, including crafting. for the first 2 weeks of Release 54, and the red electric sword has no resemblance to perhaps some other kind of sword in something else, saber of some kind. Sheba, Trebek.
Well, excellent. Well, excellent. Well, what is our next thing here? Are we going to start doing some Q&A and wrap up?
Yes, we're gonna do some Q&A and wrap up as we move towards those stretch goals. But I know we want to close it out with a bang. So I know before we end, we got to get to the white and black aeronaut helmet at least. Come on, we got to do that. And a reminder that the credits are expiring on Monday. Turning in, yes, they are turning into crowns on Monday. So
if you have $1, what does that turn into?
That turns
into one Kodo?
That turns into one crown.
We round up in their favor or whatever?
All the information is on the post. Please go look at the post. Don't ask me here.
I don't look at that stuff.
Okay.
Somebody was asking me. I didn't know.
Please go to the post. There's a link to the post. You can read all about it there. Great. All right. Jump in.
Dotendrock.
Dotendrock.
Yeah. What does shield specialization raising shield mastery by percentage mean? So all the mastery skills are the same in that they show a percentage, but really what that is if you look at all the other skills, it is the other skills have some like base number that they're going to multiply by that percentage. So really what that percentage means is nothing in itself, but it gives you a relative value, so you can see how much, if that percentage goes up, then the bonus is going to be increasing proportionally with the others along with that percentage. So again, it's one of those things where that doesn't do anything. It's just so you have a kind of a yardstick to measure, to know how much it's going to be improving other things. And also a reminder for those who don't know that the mastery skill, that what it actually does is actually in the description of each skill now. The pure axiom, any chance of expanding the pugilism skill into a broader unarmed martial arts skill to complement armed combat or to be used as a standalone. Episode 2.
Yeah.
Love to do it. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it, though. It's one of those things that, like, again, my part would be easy, and then it would be months of work for making the animations look good and making the other stuff look good and then balancing those type things. So it's a little big to add at this point.
So Fenris asks, can we please limit the amount of, quote, worthless loot? Some people, by the way, like decorations, but I understand some people think they are worthless. Or find some way of easily purging your inventory of the newly added unwanted items. Again, one person's junk is another person's wanted things. So one thing that I think we spoiled people with for a while was no one had to do any kind of inventory management when they were gathering loot. They could literally just go around spamming the E key and take all. You never actually had to pick and choose what you were taking. And now that we have a wider spread of the quality of the loot, and there's also now decorations in loot and not just gear and resources, you now have to pick and choose what you take. You have to adjust your play style. But with that said, some other games have filters of like what types of things or what level of rarity or things like that you can set in loot when you hit take all. And so that's something that we'll probably implement, some sort of filter or settings you can do when you hit take all, what take all means for you. So there'll be something like that in the future.
I can answer pretty much all these. I can go down the list there. By the way, for those who don't know, we answer these all afterwards in writing if we don't get to them.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which is also why I'm pointing this out now, is because I like to answer them here so I don't have to do as much writing later. So let me get to a couple of these.
Okay.
And Diab Blackbow and R52 missed questions. You said the base crit chance for ranged is Dex divided by 400. The current life formula. Is this current life formula, or can you elaborate on that? Crit for range was Dex divided by 1,000. It has always been Dex divided by 400. I actually went and looked again, verified. For ranged weapons, it's been Dex divided by 400, not a buff. Been that way for a while. What determines if and when I dodge a frontal attack? So your dodge skill gets added to their chance to miss. So this is also where you're saying like your Dex is basically your base dodge amount. I will also point out, since this is somewhat related, that for when combat stuff, the roles were rewritten about 5 releases ago. I didn't catch that I was allowing parry and blocking stuff from behind you. So that is actually going to be fixed in R54. I will await the screams of nerf and from all the players, but you will not be able to parry attacks from behind. You will not be able to block with a shield attacks from behind, but you still will be able to dodge attacks from behind.
Oh, before you go to the next one, I was reminded we are behind in pricing. So Elaine Dragonfire, you get 9 crown. Heraldry Rectangle Shield Eternal Pattern set goes to Marguerite. Elven Statue of Choice goes to Medium Elven Tent goes to Molly Jaw. Landscape Tapestries Mega Set goes to Vesper. Leather Guard Armor Pattern Set goes to Notable Joe. Paintings Mega Set goes to Vivian Locke. And Viking Village Inn. Whoa! Viking Village Inn. That's a big one. Goes to Bender. And Replenishing Sparklers Mega Set goes to Alchemister. Congratulations, winners. All right, back to questions.
Answer, could there be a rare chance for a Mimic boss to spawn when encountering a Mimic? There's actually a Mimic boss in the Rise that I threw in there because it seemed like it would be fun to me. But yeah,
so we already do that.
Well, we have one that spawns it. We need to have some bigger one. We need to have
so
some
that's we already do it.
Okay, fine.
Done. You answered these dodge ones?
I did not answer the second one. Do you see dodge as being a primary defensive ability? I do, because it increases the chance that you'll be completely missed in combat. And while damage resistance and avoidance can reduce the damage, this is something that actually just makes the damage go away. Also, reminder, there's a lot of spells that can be dodged. Most of the bolt type spells can be dodged as well, and fist type spells. So dodge does actually have a purpose both for melee and for magic.
Okay.
Lord Dread asks a good one here that'll lead me into something else as I steer him away from the negative part of it, which is, how do we see our magic resist? I tried using the stats command. You currently do not. We are going to be doing a lot of UI work. The first pass will be UI beautification, but we will be adding more stuff to the visible UI for listing that type of stuff. So right now there is not a good way to do it, even with the stats command. But I could probably add it into the stats command. I just hate adding anything to that. Hacky was supposed to be only a dev command that I was forced to leave in because so many players got used to having it.
I'm going to jump in one.
Okay.
Merv de Griff asks, can we please remove the skulls from the player-crafted mage staves? I'm neither a cannibal, a grave robber, or a mass murderer. Yeah, so that one was one of those placeholder things, like the trees that we used in the game from like day one, and it was like one of these assets that we got from like a weapon pack from the Unity asset store, and then like we sort of forgot about and never paid attention to. And so
and just for clarity, part of the reason we didn't get around to it was because we got all these nice looking trees, and having this horrible looking bad model made it really stand out, so it was easy to pick which one to cut down.
But so the 3 skull mage staff is another example of that exact thing. And so yes, we are going to replace that. It's a little more complicated though, because it's a recipe, and so all of the existing ones that people have crafted that have also been placed in as decorations, and so it would probably going to have to be a new recipe or phased, like, so it's not going to be easy. But yes, I share your thing. Seamus asks, with brewing coming, will the crafting of brew-related items get a maker's mark or some sort of way to denote your personal brewing brand or name labeled on each? Yeah, we want to support a way for you to have a custom name on there, just like the crafted by. So we want to have some way for that. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Valo, I'll answer his. How large do you plan the siege battles? 8v8, 16 versus 16 guild size, even more like faction virtue size. I don't think we're ready to talk about it. We have started some talks internally on that. And if we put anything on the schedule, is that?
That's for next release.
Okay.
55.
So 55. Okay. So yeah. So I don't think we want to talk about it just yet. We are continuing. And this is one of those things we don't want to do something that's going to result in a bad play experience. We're actually getting much better. I think those people who went to Dance Party last release and then Dance Party this release saw that there were some massive improvements in there. And even with 100 people in a tight space, even messing around casting spells and stuff, that we were getting playable frame rates, not great frame rates. But now we know what the next thing is, which we've got to clean up some physics stuff. But anyways, we'll see how big a group we can get, because that's really will be constrained largely by performance. It also will be constrained by map design, is how many people can be supported. Because sometimes a big map with not too many people is crummy, so you build the map smaller, but then it's bad for big experience. Anyways, we'll have more information on that for next telethon.
All right.
Streamathon.
Live stream.
Live stream.
We don't use the T word anymore.
No more T word.
All right. Rupert asks, can we get some meteors back, please? I miss them. The heavens are boring now. We do have, there's going to be an upcoming celestial event, but it's secret. So it's really cool, and I got to see it just the other day, and it's really amazing. So
I agree.
So there's some cool stuff going to be happening in the sky.
It'll be somewhat familiar, but also new.
But yes, so you're going to get meteors and more. So it's very cool, and you're going to like it, and it's awesome. Arkanoxer asks, can you please explain what is going on with the custom piece of code for the SodaMap plugin on Linux? Yeah, so and I know that this was one of those ones that we didn't want to answer, but we do want to answer. So so the issue is that the what was written, this is from what we inherited. The plugin that was used to write the map uses it doesn't support Linux, and we initially tried to get the guy who wrote the plugin that it's based on, not Jacob. I think a fundamental misunderstanding that people have was that they thought that we were talking about Jacob. When we say plugin, they thought we were talking about SodaMap. No, we're talking about something that is actually more fundamental than that. It's the actual the plugin that renders the whole thing into the game, that takes the map information and renders it inside Unity.
It's basically the web page render, and it's based. We've looked into it. We're continuing to work on it. We may just have to go with some other total solution. I actually talked to Undone, the one who's been working on this stuff, about it, and we might have another option that we can do that'll work on all of them and be a little faster. But it'll take some planning. Definitely not R54.
Yeah.
Sadly, but for those who are all techie people, it's actually, there's a Chrome DLL that you can use to render out stuff, and this thing was created by injecting some code into the Windows version and also into the Mac version, but the Linux version's been more problematic, injecting codes that can actually.
Yeah,
and it's crazy.
Yeah, and so what we hoped was the guy who originally wrote the plugin that Jacob used to write SodaMap. We hoped that we lobbied that guy to write a Linux version of his plugin, but he didn't. And so then we convinced him to give us his source code, so then we could maybe use his source code to modify to work in Linux. But then we tried that didn't work.
And so we can reproduce this on Windows and on Mac, that we can make it. There's the problem comes in with the Linux, and some, I guess it has to do more with the versions of the Chrome DLL and finding one that's the exact version that matches up with it, and there's not one. It's basically the kind of short version. But
yeah, and so please understand that we've been working literally every single release. We've been devoting time to try and make this work. It's not like we're not trying. It's a very complex problem. It turns out, which yeah, so we're trying.
Solution soon.
Yeah. Bulgarian, can you please add a particle effect to mining when striking the surface being mined? Yes, there is a task in the backlog for this. We just haven't gotten to it. TDO, can you make it possible to sort our friends list by location? Yes, that's actually another task that's in the backlog.
That's one I keep asking for.
Yes, which we will get to. You.
Let's see. Love the new look of the challenge dungeon. Great work. Would be more rewarding and attract more attention if the treasure chest could be usable once per person, like the one in Sequanis. Would this be a possibility? So there's a lot of like gotchas on that type of stuff that we worry about with exploits. But really, right now, that's just type or tech that we don't have to have it once per person, where each person can get it. I don't think that would be impossible, but again, it would be, you would go through the same battles to get there, whether you're 1 people or 10 people or 8 people. So it'd be, we give you 8 times as much loot if 8 people get through as if 1 person gets through, even though the one guy had to be 8 times as awesome to get through there. So it's kind of, I mean, it's a design challenge, and also how to avoid like people coming in after the fact and running through to go and just run through and pick up all the loot and all the chests. So there's some design challenges in that. I do like the idea of that. The everybody gets loot is a popular thing, but it's generally more popular in games that don't have open economies and free trade. But yes, we'll continue to look at that, and I want to make sure that loot is rewarding as possible. So the other option is, that's kind of one of the things I added the buff stones for, the blessings that they've been put at the end of levels, and maybe that's one that they need to put at the end of the level. Is each time you get to the end, there's a random blessing that you can get, or a consumable or something like that. That's a one-time use, or a no drop thing that could go there. But yeah, lots of stuff to think about on it. But yeah, I'd love to make them more rewarding as well.
All right. Chris J. White asks, can the homes in Hometown be labeled on the map system? Yeah, so we actually have a system that's going to be coming online for the map system, where all of the home information will be fully automated. So what home is on a lot will be automatically displayed on all lots. So while we could go hand edit all that information for Hometown, we've been just waiting for that automatic display of home information to come online. Armelion Vasaz asks, can we get a loot filter and our sell all button on merchants? Yes, that's kind of similar to the previous question we were talking about having a filter for take all different types of loot. So that would come in line with that. So yes, eventually.
And a reminder, if you're worried about like all the decoration stuff you're picking up, just go, when you go to the vendor, you can always click over to the tab showing you only the house decoration stuff. So
yeah, you can also
filter that way a little bit yourself.
Well, yeah, so you can always use the tabs for that. You can also use filters and start typing in words, and that will also help you do that as well. All right, and we're at 70,000. So
70,000. Bravo. And hey, let me take the next one. So Rufus was asking, where do serpent scales come from? So despite the name, that the word serpent in the case of serpent scales is used as that colloquialism, if I can say that word properly. It really means dragons. So those are really dragon scales, but it is common to have called dragons serpents.
We should verify that with B, because I think they also come from other things as well.
They probably do.
Yeah, so that's why I wasn't answering that, because I was going to get that. We're going to answer that one offline. So yeah, so
that's what I was thinking at the time that I wrote it up originally.
Yeah, all right. Elwin asks, can the Mardi Gras garlands be made stackable, please? So as a reminder, if you encounter things like that, please just enter stuff like that in these bug forums. That is anything that you find that should be stackable that isn't, please just report that as a bug. Shift asks, are the heraldry gloves and boots going to be given to those who already purchased the heraldry armor? Yes, that is a plan. We are just planning to augment those sets, not make them additional items, because they're not, those items themselves aren't going to display heraldry on them. They're just going to fill out that set. Chris? You're so excited.
Let's see. This is one I'm going to mention because it brings up another tech request that I've seen before that tech guys push back on a bit, and we're currently discussing. And we have an interior door option to remove doors, making for more open interior layout for houses of any size. While that's a good idea, and I think that's something we could come up with a way of doing, that's one of the things that's related to another question we have, which is a lot of players want the ability for their house to always save the same state so that they can like leave this door open. And when they come back to their house, they want that door to be open if it was open. So a lot of that comes back if players have noticed, you probably have, doors will auto shut by themselves sometimes. So the reason for that is one of the optimizations we made long ago. We try to have things, if things are in a default state, then we don't have to send any information when you enter into the scene. This is one of those reducing how much we send, reducing load time, reducing those type of things. So the less state changes we can send, the better. And those are things that would require state changes. So if you left the door open, and remember that, then that's another thing we have to both store and then also send to everybody else who gets near your house to use. So that's one of the reasons that we continue to try to figure out a better option for it. The same thing would be true if we removed the door. So maybe we're looking into it right now to see if it is something, now that we have more deferred loading of that type data, if that's something we can actually do without a huge cost.
You might want to scroll down to the newest questions and look for combat ones. All right, Oakenhammer asks, what is the possibility of seeing keep and castle size homes? Very, very, very unlikely because for a lot of reasons. One, just performance is probably the biggest one. City size homes are huge, so they are a lot of polygons and a large texture set. And so making anything bigger than those would not be great from a performance standpoint. Secondly, and then just so the house itself would be not great for performance, and then just the number of decorations you would put inside of it would be even worse. So just from a performance standpoint, that would not be a great idea. Secondly, just from an economic side of things, just the market for that wouldn't be great for us because there's just not that many people that we could sell those to because there's just not that many keep and castle mods. So probably never going to happen. City size houses are probably
Episode 2.
No, not going to happen. Probably the biggest we'd ever pick. City size. Warrior B. Patrick, since we have Viking bundles and hope to have pirate bundles, can we have bundles that include, we already talked about this, the waterlogged thing.
I got one here.
Okay.
Very important question. I did
All
some
right.
research on it. Griffler asks, can we get stats on how many death bunnies were culled during the Great Campaign of 2018? I looked and it was surprisingly low. I think players, once they got what they wanted off the death bunnies, they stopped harassing them. But it was 12,477 with the top killer. Ivan somebody, I don't remember his last name. It was Ivan somebody. He'll know who he is. He had killed 427 by himself. So that was the top bunny killer. Apparently they're kind of hard to kill.
Kurt says, currently we only have one kind of basement hatch. You should add different ones. Yes, actually that is coming up very soon, in fact. First round will be basement hatches based on all of our themes. So there'll be like a Cobalt hatch, an Elven hatch, Viking hatch, Shogun hatch, etc. And then we'll go from there to make other kinds of, stone, wood, jail, etc. So coming up soon, very soon. And this was one we had talked about a long time ago, and then we just sort of forgot about. And so thank you for reminding us. And we had actually just recently, I don't know what reminded us, but yeah, we're on it.
This is one that's fun. Koldar, what physical goods will be physically signed? Now, I don't have the answer for that.
We just talked about all that.
Okay.
We just went through it all.
I apparently missed that part. But
we just had a whole section.
I will cut together Richard's video of him signing for 12 hours, something like that.
Something like that. And it's important to note to people, we already talked earlier about how in the last week's live stream when I was down there in Austin, I could be seen sitting in the corner signing. That's because you guys were using the same camera I was using to record myself doing the signing. So the video that Chris will edit together is missing the section that, unless you put that live stream in there too. no point. I agree.
Yeah.
But all the ones where I just have the camera sitting in front of me alone will be in the edit that Chris will put together.
And I will probably do it as a time lapse because it'll be more fun.
Yeah.
And basically just have it sped up like 10x or 100x.
All right, E. Connor asks, will we be seeing traveling vendors again in the overworld? Yes, actually, R54 is very likely. Sanyo just spun that random encounter back up again. Let's see, Grape Ape asks, can we get thermal imaging tied into night vision, undead and mobs that have no body heat wouldn't show up? And I was like, that's an interesting idea.
That's cool.
That's a cool idea. So
yeah,
I like it.
I like it.
And it also would make night vision less overpowered because right now it's incredibly overpowered, I think.
Yeah, that'd be like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator. Anybody remember the old movie?
Yeah.
Covers himself in mud so he can hide from the
Totally.
predator.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Grape Ape also asked, can the Phoenix get an updated nest on the mesa above Winton's Folly? Maybe some eggs we can smash to herd virtue. Another great suggestion. So yes. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Now we're in the questions we got from the live stream, so you'll have to be patient with us while we sort of scan through and look for ones.
Tristano Visconti asks, will the companion overhaul also include standard magical summons? It will not. Those will get an overhaul of their own. But the companions, this is more making them interesting, making them very cool. I mean, they need to be a little cooler than the average summon. So some of that, the tech that we do for that and the design that we do for it may trickle down to some of the summons, but not for R54 for sure. You didn't find one that much time?
I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. By the way, Richard is correct that serpent scales are mostly just from dragons. You can get them off merchants, and there are some other rare loot drops that you can get them from, but it's mostly just dragons.
Here's one for you, Star. I'll read it to you as a question. I love the limited time emote with R53 you did. Will we see more of this type limited time emotes or items or decos?
Wait, someone who's saying they like it?
Yeah, that they
wow.
liked it.
Oh, yes. We do plan to do limited time availability of things like quests and rewards and things like that, but we always want to make sure that it's not a complete unavailability. So in the case of like the emote reward, so by the way, to be clear, the quest that rewards that emote is still available. It's just the emote that is no longer available, and the emote is teachable. So the emote can still be gotten. You just have to find another player to get the emote. So, but yes, we definitely plan to have more limited time. This was an experiment to see how it went and see how it was received. And so we definitely want to, and the other big thing we did with that scene was the scene was freshly on fire with freshly dead bodies at the beginning of the release for just the opening weekend. And then on Monday, we had all the fires burn out and all the bodies get cleaned up. So that was another experiment to have a scene have a freshly, invaded state and then resolve itself quickly. Which, because
by the way, it was a lot of work for that weekend. So I hope a lot of people went to go see it. And if we do those in the future, I hope people learn to go check those things out while they can, because they're limited supply.
And just to help minimize any rage that might be out there also, if we do those limited type things, we will make sure that they are like emotes or cosmetic type stuff. The question asks about emotes, items, or decos, but we won't give out anything that equates to power and those type things.
Right.
That you missed out on the power and now you're just screwed for all eternity. Cosmetic only.
Yes. All right. Let's see. Scanning. Can we please look? All right.
Let's see. Will we be able to create private instances for the dragon event? We kind of have a way to do that now. It'd be kind of tough. A GM would have to summon people. We do need to kind of have some special. We can set an alternate type thing. And these are all the type things as we continue on. Obviously, we've got a ton of features, but we always have these little, I wish we had these one little extra type things. That's the type thing that I'm thinking about from the tech side, and it wouldn't be that hard to set like a city override so that you get sent to a different scene if there's an event going on or something. But we can't do it yet, so it's not going to be in these Dragon events.
Rod Torment asks, any possibility to add books notes written by players to the player crafted items as loot feature? Yes, that would be very cool, and we would love to do that. All right.
How about this one? I'll put you on the spot again.
Oh, great.
Dark Sar, no T, mentioned unicorns. Please tell me they'll be tameable like the UO ones were. And does this mean nightmares will be coming soon too?
Nightmares, great, sure. I seriously doubt our unicorns will be tameable though, because our unicorns are going to be really, 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 really high level, like boss level stuff. And generally in our game, boss level creatures are not tameable. So I highly doubt our unicorns will be tameable. And in UO though, boss level creatures were tameable. So I'm not surprised that in UO unicorns were tameable. So, but I seriously doubt unicorns will be tameable in our game. We'll see though. But unicorns are really, really, really powerful in our game. Like really powerful. Like insanely powerful. Like don't go fight a unicorn.
But why does it matter? Why would you want to fight a unicorn? They're friendly. They're happy.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you will take a massive virtue hit if you go kill one.
Damn straight.
That was actually one of the discussions that got us started on those. Was people were suggesting we have them because they're trying to figure out ways. What can we do to get our virtues down really fast? I keep doing stuff evil and it's not evil enough. So now you'll have something evil enough.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Don't you do it.
Afromas ask, will we ever get an experience bar? We've actually had experience bars off and on, and we end up removing them. So what you will be getting is, hopefully I will get time to do this release. I have a JIRA on me. I was supposed to do it last release. I didn't. It's exposing more information on experience on the skills, so you can see how much you actually have assigned. We actually have this as devs, and it's one of those things I think we forget how much players really want that. So you can see how much you have, what the next level is coming up. So hopefully you can get that part. I don't think we're going to bring experience bars back. That's actually one of the things we're trying to do with the UI is continue to minimize and make it so it doesn't attract the eye so much and that it blends in more. And that's, we used to have an experience bar that was at the bottom, like some games do, so you can see your progress move across. But I don't think we're going to bring that back. We will have more experience exposed though.
All right, well, we have 5 minutes left. So, and we just got a little bit more. We're at 72,500. So we're getting closer to 80K. But great work, everyone. So as a reminder, everyone who has spent $5 today will get the Float Meditate emote. They will get the electric sword, blue electric sword that is. Has no, it's not a Sheba. Cylindrical automaton pet, an electric halberd, an electric staff, an Adobe Dome deco set with bonus burn skeletons and blue cylinder decorations. All for the low, low price of $5. And as a reminder, we've changed our format, so you have until midnight not only to be eligible to get these stretch goals by spending $5 or more, but your purchases up until midnight will further the stretch goals. So if you continue spending up until midnight, we might get more stretch goals. For instance, we might get the next stretch goal, which is at 80,000, which is the white and black aeronaut clockwork helmets. That's 2 helmets.
You know you want it.
That each have the radio in them and the all-metal crossbow. And if we get up to 90K before midnight, we're going to get double XP, including crafting for the first 2 weeks of Release 54. And if we make it up all the way to 100K, we're going to get the white clockwork aeronaut armor we were showing off earlier. So You guys want it. All right. So I just want to thank. Oh, and sorry, I have some more. I have a final round of prizes to give out. A shopkeeper pattern of your choice goes to Atreon. Your Nate, you get to ornate planting bed of your choice, either the Viking or the Elven, goes to Sarah Dragon. The Heraldry Eternal Pattern Mega Set goes to Kazine. The Elven Globe Village Home goes to Krazuka Oakenberry. Oh my gosh, and this is a huge one. Wow. The Shipwrecked Haunted Pirate Galleon City Water Home goes to Shun Shui. So congratulations. That's a huge one. That's really cool. If you have not seen that new Haunted Pirate Galleon Home, it's really cool. So congratulations all the winners. An amazing live stream again. Release 53 was a great release, but Q2 has again just a ton of stuff in store for everybody. We're gonna have brewing. We're gonna have be able to put containers back in containers. We're gonna have unicorns. We're gonna have pirate skeletons. We're gonna have these cool new release things.
We're gonna have more performance,
better performance. We're gonna get some polish on vendor controls, some UI polish. It's gonna be tighter and cleaner. It's just a lot of really great stuff coming up in Q2, and as always, we have just an amazing community. In addition to all the work we do, the community is doing all sorts of cool stuff. I mean, they're literally doing events every single day. There's plays, there's parties, there's PvP tournaments, there's Gusball tournaments. I mean, there's just tons and tons and tons of stuff going on every single day that our community puts on. So check the events calendar, see what they're doing, and thank you for just being an amazing community. Chris?
Just wanted to say thanks to everybody. So many of the good changes that I made this release were due to player feedback. I actually, in between when Scotty was doing his talk and entertaining people, I was at my desk talking to people and actually people gave me feedback on a cloak that was broken. I looked into it and found what was wrong with it and fixed a bug right there while I was talking to people. But yeah, just love the constructive feedback. Just makes it so obvious everybody wants the game to be better and everybody wants it to do well. And everybody also loves the game, very passionate about it. So thanks for being so passionate. I guess that's all. I'll keep working hard for you guys.
Lord British.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you, gentlemen. You guys did a great job on the stream, as did everybody else on the team. In addition to thanking the community that we always do, I think periodically we, at least from my perspective, I like to turn around, not only thank you guys, but the entire team down there in Austin that continues to overperform and deliver these releases not only on time and reasonably stable, but just chock full of content beyond many of our wildest dreams, I would say, at least beyond mine. And that's no small feat, and you guys deserve a round of applause, at least for me, and I'll bet the community feels similarly. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to all of you in the community for whom we work. Have a good night.